is up? What is up? Apparently not my camera. Hold on. Should be now. There we go. It's not a tech stream unless you have some kind of tech issue at some point. Like last night when the internet decided to shit the bed towards the last 20 minutes. You know. What's everyone up to? How's everyone doing? It's Wednesday, hump day. I know I'm on a little bit early, but you know, it's better to be on stream early than finish a little early, if you know what I mean. But yeah, what's everyone up to? I have some of my friends that have been going through the Epstein files. Lot of weird shit coming out of there, and there's probably going to be more shit. And what amazes me more is how people have gotten away for it for so long. But it just proves my point, as I've said a long time, that, you know, Democrat, Republican both really suck in different ways. And the Epstein files have pretty much proven that, because there's a lot of people getting called in. But anyway, yep. So it's about 7 o'clock my time. Gonna be finishing up my job this week. Still waiting for the background check to clear for the other job. I'm sure it's gonna be fine. I don't have anything on my record, really. But yeah, so things are happening. I'll be moving on to senior cybersecurity engineer. And then this weekend, I am taking my Network Plus as part of my WGU curriculum. So I've been averaging passing about one class every week, give or take. Right now, the hardest part is because you're doing the third-party exams and everything, the certifications. I only could do those on the weekend because my current employer were a bunch of D-bags, and we're like, yeah, we don't want you to take off during time because we don't know if this is really relevant to your career as it stands. And I'm like, really? Me getting a bachelor's in cybersecurity doesn't really seem relevant. But okay. Just another reason why I'm leaving. They're gonna find you in the Epstein files, though. I would be, you know, there are many things I'd be surprised that I wouldn't be in some kind of list for DHS or something like that, but the Epstein files, that ain't something you gonna find me in a 10-foot pole. I mean, let's be honest, there was a point in time, a lot of people don't realize this, where just being a Linux user or an advocate for privacy, and this even happened under the Obama years, just to be clear, would get you on some kind of a DHS watch list. This is not a joke. We've talked about it. I've shown the articles from back in the day. But yeah. But yeah, there's some wild shit in there. But also, some stuff I'm not really that surprised in. And I don't think many other people were surprised about either. We were going to have a person in my local DEF CON group talk about how you could actually scrape the DEF CON files, but he accidentally slept in and took a nap for that meeting. So maybe we'll get those lessons next month. Sec Plus and CCNA set up for my cybersecurity job. Well, what other experience do you have? The honest truth is, it's not really about the certifications you have, it's about the prior experience you have. Case in point, I didn't have a CISSP or any certifications before I got my cybersecurity engineering job. I got it through having a GitHub profile that had a portfolio that had quite a few things, a lot of my prior experience working on different firewalls and different technologies. The honest truth is, and I'm not trying to say this to make anyone, you know, put anyone down, but the honest truth is, a lot of people have the wrong they have the misconception of, if I get these certs or I get this degree, I'll get a cybersecurity job. It's more about the experience. You may check off some boxes for HR with a certain degree. Finishing a community college degree on information technology, doing a for a month and for internship. Yeah, you're still really new, My advice, you're not really most likely going to be getting into cybersecurity straight off, especially right now. It's very tough for entry level. I would start more with entry-level IT, whether it be help desk, junior system administration, junior network administration, work at a managed service provider. Get the experience there, and then after a few years of putting in the work, you can make the hop over a little bit easier. If you're just going in saying, hey, I want to go straight into cybersecurity, they're going to want to see that experience anyway, because they're going to want to know that you can actually show that you can do the basics, you can troubleshoot different issues, and not get pigeonholed into the wrong issue. Yeah, I'm just saying this honestly. I've been in the field 15 years. I'm just now getting my cybersecurity degree, and I've been in the IT space for a few years. So, what should I head to? Like I said, check what's out there in terms of entry-level jobs for IT, for help desk, junior system administration, junior network administrator. You know, there's a lot of junior level jobs out there to at least get your lips wet. You gotta do, as I tell people, embrace the bitch work. The honest truth is a lot of people set their sights a little bit too high when they get straight out of college and think they're the shit, but you're gonna learn once you're in the field. You didn't learn much in terms of school. I'm not putting anyone down that's going through that path. I'm just being honest with you. You only learn concepts in school. But once you're in the field and you start applying that and you can have something to your name, then you actually can bring something more. But if you're going to go into an interview for cybersecurity, they're going to want to see that you have a little bit more behind you. What are some good projects to do on Home Lab to help with cyber? I always recommend people start with networking. The pfSense firewall is a really great way to start. That's how I did. Go read the documentation for pfSense. The foreword inside of it actually will teach you a lot of the networking concepts. That's actually how I learned a lot of networking, is home labbing with that. And then from there, you can build up a zero trusted network, VLAN everything out, segment the network as you need, and host a bunch of different services around there. Home labbing is a really great approach, and of course, if you need ideas and tinkerings and all that, we have a Discord and a Matrix server with a great community on both of those servers so that you can chat with other people, get all bunch of different ideas. There's lots of people tinkering in there, and there's actually some good resources that are pinned in the general chat. I know a member actually put in, I think it was like a 600-page PDF document they found of like home labbing exercises you can do, and most of them are built on open source software, so they cost you almost nothing. Yeah, the links are in the bio if all of you want to join the Discord or the Matrix server. My links in bio have all of my socials and everything. You have a cyber internship lined up at January next year. Nice. Nice. Good way to get your chops wet. I know a lot of people don't take advantage of internships while they're in schools, and it's a great way to start with experience. Generally, when you're trying to go into like cybersecurity roles specifically, they're wanting 2 to 3 years of experience before they'll seriously consider you, even at the junior level. The big misconception that I wish they would educate people in school about is that cybersecurity is not necessarily an entry-level job. It is part of IT, but it's not IT. It's like, the closest thing I can equate it to is when you go and become a doctor, you don't just go and straight become a cardiologist or an oncologist or a dermatologist or any of those agists. You start in general medicine, and then you work on specializing. That is the same thing when it comes to cybersecurity. So you can build up with the goal of, I want to be there eventually, but lay your foundation out. And you'll be much more thankful when you do, because I see it all the time. The few people that do happen to go straight into cybersecurity and skip over the foundational roles that, yes, they kind of suck, help desk, junior level roles for different things like that, they actually look back on that experience and they're like, wow, I actually learned so much. For example, there's a coworker of mine, no hate to him at all. He got into cybersecurity. He said like he failed. He struggled on the A+ test, and I'm like, dude, I didn't even study for it, and I passed it with flying colors. The first part of A+ I did an 847, and the second part I did an 826. Didn't even study. Now I'm going for the Network Plus. Didn't even really study, and I'm getting like 80 to 90% on the practice tests from home labbing experience and the field. Never employ people without work experience. I do have to definitely say that, because the honest truth is, if I'm in the position of hiring people, and I have been, or at least in the process of interviewing, I don't care what your certs are. I care about your experience, and I'll actually ask you straight up, when you're on your own time, what do you do in your free time? What do you do to continue with your education? What do you do to tinker, to learn? I will always hire the person who home labs and tinkers on their own time than the person that comes with all the fancy certs and degrees. Because I was that person. I hear people say CCNA is too much, but do you think I should take? It depends on the track you're going. I don't have a CCNA. I never needed it. I'm only just starting to get my Network Plus. I'm taking the test this weekend as part of the WGU curriculum. What's a good help desk entry-level job remote? Not going to happen. I hate to break it to you. Entry-level and remote, completely, in most cases, mutually exclusive terms. Most entry-level positions now have moved back to on-site or at best hybrid. Remote jobs as a whole are very hard to come by. And generally, they're reserved for more senior positions because that talent pool is very small. That's the honest truth. That's the reality check I'm going to have to give you. Yeah, Walter White, Home Lab, too. Yeah, Home Lab is good for anything in tech. I feel networks sound a good niche to get experience. It definitely is. And networking is one of those things that can directly translate into cybersecurity. Now, different organizations will treat networking as an IT thing, and some will treat it as a cybersecurity thing. But networking is a foundational thing, a field that you should know in cybersecurity, because without networking, you can't do anything. Disagree because there's help desk tech support roles remote. Just because you disagree doesn't mean it's true. Go look up on LinkedIn. Go look up on Indeed. Find yourself the entry-level help desk roles. And a lot of those help desk roles that may be remote, they're generally looking for a bit more experience than entry-level. And their help desk, they're probably looking for things like, oh, can you do Active Directory? Can you do LDAP? Can you do Identity and Access Management support? And it's more in an operational capacity than simple help desk as an entry-level. And if you want to disagree with me, by all means, you can go look up and see that is exactly the case. Trust me, even at the more senior level, it's hard to find those kind of jobs. Are we doctor yet, Chief? That Family Guy reference. Luckily, the military enables us to do it. It's a live SOC internship. Nice. Yeah, the military gives a lot of opportunities for different people. I know originally I wanted to go for the military, but things did not work out for me, so it is what it is. But hey, life has a funny way of doing things. I'm just asking, where and how do we learn practical work experience on a workplace where companies never employ people without work experience? Home labs. Home labs. Most of my experience has been from home labbing. I learn about something that I'm like, okay, that's an interesting concept. How can I tinker with it? And you can find an open source equivalent for a lot of things. I learned networking through pfSense. I learned how to do segmenting of networks by getting secondhand switches that were managed switches, and then retrofitted old routers that were wireless into access points. So that, you know, all of that different stuff. Home labbing will go a lot farther than a lot of people realize. Like, I've literally won job interviews over because people are like, so what do you do for your education and stuff? And I'm literally like, well, yeah, this is a logging server over here. If you want, I can, you know, flip the screen and show you my Grafana, or I can show you the Docker box that's on my desk, or, you know, send them pictures of the home lab and stuff like that. Do you think WPA3 will support Radius server config? Yeah, it's Radius is completely irrelevant to WPA3. WPA3 is more about the access points connecting to the device and how they're connecting from clients to wireless access point. Radius is just handing off the authentication. What can we do? Oh yeah, and in terms of the home labbing, to get back to like what you can do to show off when you're doing your home labbing, build a blog. Make a GitHub. My GitHub has a pfSense sim stack with Grafana dashboards and a whole bunch of things that I've built out over there. And I've had a couple of employers be freaking impressed and be like, we like this guy because of what he's able to do on his own free time with that, and just figured things out. Or my typo squatting tool, where I found typo squatting and stuff like that. Typo squatted domains. But yeah, blogs go a very far away. You can do WordPress, you can do a GitHub.io page where you can, have that piped in. I've had Cloudflare pages. Like if you go to the support.chiefgeek3.com, you'll actually see that is a Cloudflare page that I hosted solely out of me teaching myself how to use Cloudflare pages in a CI/CD pipeline. So that way I can make the changes on a GitHub, and then it gets pulled into a Cloudflare. And whenever I make the change in the GitHub, in like 30 to 40 seconds later, it's pulled into the Cloudflare page. I can see the Meshtastic network is getting a little bit busy right now. This is one of my Meshtastic devices. Help desk is customer service. If you're nice and have soft skills, you can find a job. That's one of the most important things, the soft skills in this job. So if you're in a non-tech area looking for a help desk, you're basically screwed. Yeah, you have to move. You have to move. And I'm speaking from experience. I have literally moved states and even countries to get jobs. I've lived in Germany for a few months on a contract. I've lived in Texas, in California. I've moved around wherever the opportunities are. And I know that's a little bit of a tall order for some people, but that's something you have to accept, is that, unfortunately, if you're not in a big city, the opportunities for tech are rather limited. That's just the reality of it. But I know a crap ton of people that I've met through the years that have come from small towns and moved to cities so that they can pursue their job. Or pursue their education, at least. Twitch never gave me a notification. Well, Twitch is kind of hit or miss, which is why I have the Discord notifications and the Blue Sky notifications and the Matrix notifications and the Mastodon notifications that all come out from my bot that gets fed through the AI to give you interesting titles. You think working as help desk sysadmin on local company is good experience, or should it be big company? It doesn't matter the company size. It does not. Most of my career, up until about 4 years ago, bear in mind I've been doing this for 15 years, was at companies that had no more than 50 people. Most of the jobs that I've been at were MSPs that had like 5 or 6 people working. Now I work in a company that has about 8,000 people, and I'm leaving this for another company that has 8,000 people. I've met people that have started at big companies and gone to small companies. I've met people that gone to small companies and go to big companies. It doesn't matter the size of the company so much as the skills that you learn along the way. And always push yourself. And don't get boxed in just because you're like, well, we never got to learn that at work. That may apply if you're doing like corporate tools, like, okay, you may not get as deep into AWS, for example, or as deep into CrowdStrike, or, Aruba, or Juniper, or, the things that you're going to need a lot of money for. But if you can learn the base concepts, you can translate that. For example, before I started this job 3 years ago, I've never used AWS. I used DigitalOcean and Linode. I have never used CrowdStrike. I use Bitdefender, Gravity Zone, as well as ESET in their enterprise setting for different clients and Sophos. I have, before I went to the MSP, I also was mainly on pfSense, but then I started doing WatchGuard and Sophos and unify along the way as that started getting more popular. How do you learn and retain information? Home labbing, tinkering, getting a lot of friends and joining nice communities that have people of shared interests. Surround yourself with people that will actually encourage you to learn, grow, and prosper. The reality is your environment is going to be more important than what you choose to do. That's the honest truth. You know, like, it's one of those things where they say you judge people by the company they keep. A lot of my friends are nerds. We're all tech people. And I've mentored a lot of people into, you know, getting more into cybersecurity and technology and how to start home labbing and tinkering. Are you redeemed to give my dogs a treats? I'd be like, cool shirts, bro. You want a soldering iron, screwdrivers? Yeah. I actually did have a meeting one time and they're like, you do any tinkering? And I literally opened the backpack I came in and I pulled out my soldering iron that's portable. And I'm like, yeah, here's the battery pack. And then you just turn that on in a few seconds. And they're like, wait, did you 3D print that case? And I'm like, I sure did. Y'all have seen the 3D printed soldering iron. It's somewhere around here. Yo, Barack, Ari. Ari, Barack. Y'all want a treat? I don't know if they're gonna come. We'll see. Because they've been lazy lately. Did your employer ever ask for government clearance? Some have, but I don't have government clearance. It is what it is. Wherever there are businesses, there are help desk roles or an MSP to support the... Yeah, it's true. Although there are a lot of MSPs that do travel. Like, I remember one of the MSPs I went for, we'd have clients that I'd have to travel an hour, hour and a half to go support because there was just nothing out in the area. That's also part of the interesting story of, I went to support a client and found out that, one of the owners was in the Klan, and I called my owner, and I'm like, do you realize that you just sent the Jewish guy to a Klansman's business? And they're like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah. So they're like, okay, just kind of make an excuse and then like casually leave. And then they drop the client after I left. I just have a renovation company right now, but I'm going to school for tech through WGU. Yeah, I'm going through WGU as well. Just to get the checkbox of the bachelor's degree. I may go for a master's and maybe an MBA. We'll see how I feel. I got to take the Network Plus this weekend. Then I got to do the ITIL 4. Then I got to do the... but I'm passing the classes pretty fast. I just started in, like, January 1st. And I think I'm, like, already 7 classes in. I think. But yeah. Any updates on the mini laptop? No. I do plan to update it when, first I pay off some cards, then I get my monitors replaced, then I'm a few months into this job after I pay down some bills, then I'll buy the board for it, because that's like a $750 upgrade I'm planning to do. So, I have other priorities first. Your company issued what gave you the cheapest line notification. We can program that. We can probably program that. Is Linux my primary OS? Yes, it is. Funny, Dev. Funny. What about a PC shop? Would that be enough experience to land a help desk role remote? Maybe, but the reality is, remote jobs are few and far between, and I'm not just talking at the entry level. At the entry level, they're especially hard. At the senior and mid-level, they're even harder to come by right now. It's not 2020 or 2021, and I think a lot of people need to accept that the golden age of remote jobs is over. Employers have, for whatever reason, gone backwards and said, we need asses in seats instead of results-driven work. And here's the honest truth. I actually am of the argument that if you're just starting your career out, remote is the worst thing for you. It really is. At the very minimum, you want hybrid, because there's a lot of things to be gained by making friends and associating with your peers, because you learn more through osmosis, and when you're in isolation, you're not really going to progress that well. You got to put yourself out there. Find tech groups, go to tech meetups. I go to cybersecurity groups several times, well, at least a couple times a month, usually, depending on the season. Not just DEF CON and all that. You regret meeting many of your coworkers. Well, Abby, where you work, it just sounds fucked, okay? I mean, that's the exception to the rule. You'll be done with WG so quick with your knowledge, man. Yeah. Like I said, it's just the checkbox. It's literally just the checkbox for me to go get the more senior roles, because I know I've been excluded from a lot of choices purely because I don't have that checkbox. And unfortunately, that's the case for a lot of people I know. I know a lot of people that are very qualified, and they're struggling to find jobs because they don't check the right boxes. Isn't that a little wild to uproot your life for an entry-level position? No, it's not. You have to move where the opportunities are, and that's not just for tech. I was also an electrician many years ago. You go where the business is. And I know it's hard for a lot of people to hear that you're gonna have to leave probably where you've lived most of your life, your comfort zone and everything. But the reality is, if you want to grow, and this isn't just for tech or anything in your life, you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to be able to be willing to take a chance. And sometimes it will pay off big. If I didn't get out of my comfort zone on a lot of the things I, did, I wouldn't be where I am. A lot of companies give you housing reimbursements in tech anyway, so I end up being quite good. Yeah, that's true. One of the jobs that the job that I'm leaving now, they actually paid the guy, reimbursements for like the first month and a half, 2 months for him to essentially move. So there are opportunities out there. But yeah. Did you just keep typing gay stream when you meant game stream? It's a review on stream, because I haven't, I need to catch up on a lot of content. You get it for 3 months during your internship this summer. Yeah, about 2 to 3 months is the average that I see for a lot of people moving things around. Alright, where was I at? The undersea generator nobody has built. Alright, so... we have the tubes. Give me 1 second. Let's make sure the audio is set up. I think I did it right before the stream, but you know how sometimes the GPU gets a little derpy. Like that, see? It didn't bring the audio out like it's supposed to.
Front, left.
You gotta do this weird thing I noticed where you gotta wake it up.
Front,
by focusing
left.
the audio to go out, and then it works. Okay. What do you think of ClaudeBot? I ain't touching that shit. I do not like the idea of anything agentically running on my system or having accounts access without me explicitly authorizing it. Even when I'm using GitHub Copilot Pro Plus with VS Code, the only things that I allow it automatic agentic access to is read-only stuff. Like, oh, you need to grep a thing? You need to ls a thing? You need to diff a thing? You need to read the git commits? Fine. You write any shit? I have to approve it. You can create so many problems with that. And the problem is, I think, that a lot of people are too comfortable with AI. I'm even of the opinion that I've said this before. I don't even think that kids younger than 16 should even be able to have access to AI. And I've never been that person that's been like, we should age gate technology, but it is actually dangerous that kids are learning not how to think, but just relying on other things to think for them, which is kind of how the movie Idiocracy ended up starting. What job am I shooting for once you get the Bachelor? Well, currently my new job is going to be senior cybersecurity engineer. My end goal is architecture. Maybe VP of cybersecurity or something one day. We'll see how I feel about that. But I want to remain technical. The older we get, the more wise we become. Absolutely. By the way, Vampire, my dogs have not come down. I even used the magic word of, you guys want a treat? Ari, Barack. Yeah, still not hearing them. Could you give me a remote job entry level by then? No. If architects don't really have much say into giving that, that's still managerial and directors. I've asked first years in my university who have done their first term Java modules how to do a for loop, and they didn't know. Oof. Like, if you look at my code, I know the basics of how to do Python and all that. You've seen me go through the streams where I have Claude go through and create stuff. But I've also, you've seen me go in and be like, I don't like how that's done. We need to tell it to do it a different way. Or I'm going and manually modifying the requirements.txt and pinning the files. They up to something, you better go check on them. Yetz is with them. My dogs are good. Barack's out of his, like, pure puppy phase. If he's doing anything stupid, he's fucking with Arya. But let's get working on... Let's see what this video is. The undersea generator nobody has built. $1,000 challenge from the Plasma channel. And this was in the review on stream section, courtesy of Vampire. So what did one of my mods send me?
Go, little beast.
As global populations expand, the search for new energy sources has increasingly led us to the oceans. And while mechanical power generation, such as undersea
that looks like a giant dick
sure bet,
look, I'm gonna be honest with you. When you see that, how do you not see a dick with balls? Like, especially when the thing is rotating.
Such as undersea turbines is a sure bet.
It's an undersea dildo.
Might offer the key to a greener, more animal-friendly solution.
So for over 50 years, engineers have dreamed of a solid-state, passive energy solution, meaning absolutely no moving parts whatsoever. And since we're relying on the conductive salt water of the ocean, some have argued the solution lies in an MHD generator. Yeah. And apparently it's not just the engineers and inventors who think so.
You see, 2 years ago, I designed an MHD thruster. By electrifying salt water in the presence of strong magnets, it produced visible thrust. A few months later, I then improved upon the idea with a circular design. This version showed
3D
real-world
printed
promise and moved a massive amount of water. It also got people in the comments wondering the same thing. What if you reverse the process? Does it generate power if you force water through it?
Huh.
I mean, that's a wildly fair question, so I set out to answer that.
After weeks of 3D modeling, several magnetic field simulations, and a bit of manual labor,
oh my God.
Most effective
and multiple underwater tests, the answer was a bit more shocking than I expected. This video is sponsored by Gruns, and stick around to the end because I have a $500 challenge for fellow makers. Now, how would an MHD generator function?
So salt water, electrically conductive, right? It's like a poorly conducting wire. You force that water through a strong magnetic field, and it induces a voltage across the water column. Place 2 electrodes on the sides of the water column, and boom, you're exporting electricity. It's really that simple.
Like a really weak battery.
In theory.
I guess.
It's Lorenz's law, but in reverse compared to MHD thrusters. I do a great breakdown of Lorenz's law in the last video, which I'll link down below, and the entire physics at play is so simple that I just hopped right into this. So I started with the basics. Using Onshape, I drafted a physics-oriented design. 3 layers of magnets, a bottom, middle, and top, separated by electrodes, creating 2 horizontal water flow chambers. Definitely not the most complicated setup, but I'll leave a link in the description down below for you to try out Onshape for yourself.
Before really building or printing anything, I reached out to my friend Chris because he has extensive experience modeling up magnetic fields, and he's actually helped with several videos in the past. So I asked him to whip up a simulation for the current design.
It turned out beautifully and indicated the magnetic field lines crossing through the water columns would be perfectly vertical, which is what I needed.
Interesting.
That was a green light in my book, so I shot the files over to my Prusas to print out the body and the intakes of the generator.
He's got, what, Mark IV Prushas they look like? little bit newer than what I have. I got super modified Mark 3S's I still gotta maintain.
Meanwhile, I set out
These are
on a
stock.
fully destructive path of discovering just how much I hate working with 316 stainless steel.
Oh yeah, I've dealt with 3/16, and it's a bitch to work with.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you will burn
Impossible to
through the
cut
saw
and even
blades.
more impossible to sand, but stainless is needed.
In reality, you actually probably don't want a circular saw for that. I think you'd probably want a band saw.
Electrodes to prevent corrosion in salt water.
That's good for not just the health of the generator, but also the ocean that it's sitting in. And since we're talking about health, I feel like this is a good time for me to bring up an addiction I'm honestly happy to have. And that addiction is Groons. Inside of one of these packets are 8 delicious little gummies packed full of vitamins, probiotics.
I thought he was going to
just
talk
the
their
right amount of
edibles of a
Do you
different
remember
kind.
those addictive Flintstones vitamins?
They had
we,
that
as
color.
kids? Yeah. Well, Groons, kind of the adult version. Usually, generic multivitamins contain 10
all the games
vitamins
on
or less,
Ubuntu like
and
the old
at best,
Batmans? Yeah, you
they kind
can.
of taste like a vitamin cosplaying a candy.
So we had a huge
Groons, on the other
bandsaw with a
hand,
lot of
20 plus vitamins and minerals
cooling
plus
liquid.
60
Yeah.
whole food ingredients. It's also vegan-free, nut-free, essentially every restricted diet you can think of. Kind of a shame you're only supposed to have 1 pack per day. Because when I wake up, literally, before I have breakfast, I take one of these bad boys and snort it down because it's essentially candy without any of the guilt. Now, you might have noticed I've been growing out my hair, which
Lion's
these
Mane
specifically help
mushroom
with. They
gummies.
contain biotin.
Oh, I
and
do have a
niacinamide, which is
mushroom
good for
complex
finger, skin,
supplement I
nails.
take every
and they also
day.
contain, I think, 3 times the amount of dietary fiber as other greens gummies. So basically, they're delicious while being healthy. You can get up to 52% off by clicking this link that's in the video description or scanning the QR code also on screen. On to the generator.
Assembling the parts like a budget Avenger team, the generator came together fairly quickly with all the parts held together with a pressure fit. I designed it to be bidirectional with 2 water intakes, though that gets complicated with a fixed magnetic field.
As for what provides that magnetic field, I've got a pack full of monsters right here. And I do need monsters.
Oh, those are some magnets.
20 pounds of neodymium magnets. These are N52 neodymiums. They are terrifying to work with.
I was gonna
This is
say,
like the
that-
pressure of a
that
small
looked like it was
child
gonna
standing in my hand. It's awesome. Seriously, I've lost so much skin to these things. For example, one of these magnets has an 85-pound pole, and the generator will have 18 of them. Now, the magnets are made of metal, so they're conductive, and they will act as a short circuit between the distance of the 2 electrodes. Can't have that. So, Flex Seal to the rescue.
Wait. Really? This is the first time I've actually seen wet Flex Seal in the wild.
With a bit of finesse, I managed to squeeze in all 18 neodymium magnets. It's a pretty wild amount of magnets, and this thing is fairly hefty, 10, 12 pounds, but I expect it to be heavy because I built it to be quite robust. And this many neodymium magnets in this small of a space, the magnetic field on this thing is wild.
From 4 feet away, this little button magnet follows the magnetic flux directly to the
Jesus!
generator. Its north-south faces are completely magnetically locked to the south-north faces of the generator. From 4 feet away, that's just wild.
Holy.
Despite the intense magnetic fields, this generator will only work
Yeah,
with
keep
salt
that away
water
from
currents.
electronics.
So
That seems like it could
135
F
grams
some
of salt
stuff
per
up.
gallon of water and an underwater
So good
pump
it
with a
stops leaks,
diffuser
even
will
electrical
provide the
leaks.
flowing seawater conditions for
Billy Mays here.
the generator, and you're golden.
Right, so I've got the tank, the
Was he
salt
building
water,
a
the
soul
pump,
collector?
and the MHD generator. When it
An
comes to
electric
measuring how much
generator that's
voltage
solid
the
state.
generator actually produces, which won't be that much, a simple multimeter will work perfectly for the job. So I'll connect this up and see what I get. Oh,
Wait,
it's only
what?
producing half of a volt. This is acting like a saltwater battery. There's an electrochemical reaction.
That is
producing half a
crazy.
volt at all
I know it's
times.
not a lot, but that's still
awesome.
crazy.
Hopefully it adds to the voltage out with flowing water. 3, 2, 1. 200. It's dropping.
Jumping down?
It's dropping?
How?
Yeah, this design was rudimentary, but I still figured it would produce some voltage with flowing water, right? After a bit of thinking, I wondered if this generator had a directional bias built into it. This is test 2. I flipped around the generator. 3, 2, 1.
Nope, still going
What are
down.
you looking at here? It is an anti-generator. It reduces electricity. Great. That was not the problem. I did, however, identify one flaw from the test.
Despite using stainless 316, the electrodes were still corroding.
That is oxidation happening in real time. The electrodes are oxidizing as we speak.
Oh,
Yeah, clearly not going to cut it.
After a cup of boiled bean water, I was astonished that my brain started braining. Directional bias wasn't the issue, and neither was electrode spacing. As far as I could tell, it was magnet strength and terrible electrical isolation. Here's why magnetic field strength matters.
How much
According to
cost
the
to make?
induced
I'd
EMF
say-
equation shown here, voltage is proportional to the product.
that's probably
of
going to
these
be like
three
about
variables.
150, 200
Double the
bucks,
magnetic
probably. in
field,
materials
electrode
and
spacing, or
conversation.
water speed, and you double the voltage out. And currently, this design was leaking magnetic flux all the way out into space. If only there was a way to focus that magnetic field through only the inside of the generator.
There is. It's called a magnetic boot or clamp.
So I added that clamp to the 3D models and passed it off to Chris for another simulation.
Yeah, if you check out the field density between like the two different models, the one with and the one without, you're kind of bleeding the flux all over the place. And when you put those C clamp in there, what you're doing is you're taking and you're rerouting that extra stuff a little bit better so that it's condensed around or in between
Interesting.
where the C clamp plates are. Yeah.
It's quite drastic. The first model you ran shows, a very beautiful open magnetic field that's really cool looking. And with the clamp, I see, extreme focusing of that magnetic flux where we want it. We chatted a bit more about partial versus full clamps, and I went with the latter.
Okay, magnetic field is slated for improvement now for the electrical isolation issue.
While the electrodes need to contact
That's
salt
all
water in order
800
to
bucks.
produce electricity, it's a
That's way
double-edged
off.
sword. In theory, there needs to be total electrical isolation from the water column between the electrodes and the salt water surrounding the main body, and these electrodes are fully exposed on the outside.
I believe the generator is just sitting there and shorting through the water. Any power that's produced then just short circuits around the body on the outside. How the hell do we get around this considering it's supposed to be submerged in the ocean?
I decided a completely solid resin-printed body would do the trick. Electrodes aren't exposed to the open salt water,
Okay.
only to the water screaming through the water channels. The magnets are also placed outside the body as well, and a unified magnetic boot can clamp around all four sides of the resin body. Making this unidirectional would also simplify things. Passing this off to my Formlabs resin printer, it spat out a solid resin body that would be perfect for the rebuild, and then a quick reprint of the intake finished the job. Here's the body. You can see it's all one piece, solid plastic resin. Magnets slide into the center column and also on the top and bottom surfaces. As for the magnetic boot, I found a local welder known as Benny who was able to put up with me talking about Tesla coils for a bit, and then I polished it up at home. My measurements were a bit off, and this made for an extremely tight fit, and all I can say is that finally all that bench press came in handy. Then again, this is more of an MHD press. Topping one end of the body with an intake and then inserting the 4 removable electrodes, the rebuild was now complete.
After a bit of work, here is the second version of the generator. It's optimized for water flow, electrical isolation, and magnetic field strength, with these steel plates on all 4 sides significantly increasing the strength of that magnetic
Isn't
field.
that going to corrode over
Right,
time
so
too?
this
But
is
I
a
guess for
magnet and it's
basic-
attracted to the steel plate. Other steel is also attracted to the magnet. Utterly shocking, I know. However, that steel plate is thick enough, it actually absorbs and deflects the magnetic field.
Ah, interesting.
So magnets on the inside equals very little waste
Magnets.
flux outside.
How do they
Crossing
work?
my fingers it works this time. In you go, little beast. Sitting in the water, is it still a saltwater battery?
A lot less.
Barely. 3, 2, 1.
Still going down.
Oh, this does not work as a generator. It does not work. The electrical isolation was drastically better than the first model, and it performed worse. I did multiple tests. The highest voltage it produced was 40 millivolts.
So I redesigned the body to extend out another inch in both directions, creating 50 millimeters of insulation between a pair of electrodes and the metal boot. Another full resin print, and back to testing version 3.
Oh, dear God. It got worse.
Even less.
None of this made sense. Increased magnetic field strength, I increased electrical isolation, I even doubled the water flow to 4 meters per second, which is unrealistic for an open ocean. And the most voltage it produced ever was about 1/2 volt, but that was from electrochemistry just sitting there in the water. Any water flow just obliterated the voltage output. I don't know.
Look, MHD generators are experimentally used with plasma or liquid metals as the flowing medium, but I see now why MHD generators aren't used in the open ocean, why no one has filmed a video on YouTube about an MHD saltwater generator. Apart from their wildly inefficient energy output, they just face a host of problems. Oxidation, electrical isolation, constantly flowing saltwater.
So I've got a $500 challenge. Be the first to build a fully functional MHD saltwater generator, no bigger than, say, a shoebox or a basketball, capable of at least lighting up a single LED using realistic water velocities. Post a video about it and share the link in the comments. I'll hand you the cash myself, plus I'll share your video. I'll leave the challenge up for 6 months from now. Why? Because the physics says it's possible, and I want to see someone else take a stab at this. As always, I appreciate you watching, and I hope that you learned something new while watching the video. Chris, you're an absolute legend, and also my Patreons. Expect a complete rework of my Patreon page going forward. You stay.
Yeah, that was interesting. All right, let's see. What else did Vampire put on my list to watch? Never Doubt Grandpa?
Okay, so how much Miralax is too much Miralax?
Hey, yo, get the fuck out of the way.
the
We're
hell?
trying to jump
Did you send me like some claymation AI shit?
the cart.
Back in my day, my pal Wally and I used to do nifty jumps with our radio flyer.
Bro is Lo genuinely talking about the Proterozoic Eon.
I'm not talking about
What the
Ian,
hell?
I'm talking about Wally. We'd grease our wheels to go faster and get more air.
I'm pretty sure we know what we're doing. We don't need your baby oil to grease things up, Diddy.
If you know so much, then why don't you try it?
No, I don't want to ruin your fun.
He's capping. He'd probably break a hip.
Vampire, how much were you drinking when you put this in the review on Stream Channel?
Because he's so fucking old.
I've never broken a bone in my entire life. I'm indestructible Irving, damn it.
Who the hell calls you that?
Walter fucking Cronkite. Now give me the
hell?
card.
Look, man, we were just joking. You should definitely not do this.
Yeah, this is straight up not safe.
That's what makes it cool.
Holy shit! Irving, are you okay?
Did you see how fucking high I got?
Dude, do you need
You
us
must
to
have
call
been
an
high to
ambulance?
put
Yeah,
this
can
in
you
my
even
channel.
walk?
Yeah, and I can fuck too. Is your grandma still alive?
What the hell was that? Okay, you have another hightail video. I'm just moving past that. We get it. You like hightail. So what is this? No one told me. An anime satire.
Buddy, what you up to?
Oh.
My Tamagotchi just died. Oh!
Oh,
my God.
Tamagotchi!
So sorry. Look, I remember when my Tamagotchi passed away. I don't think I ever really got over it. If you need someone to talk to. No, I'll just reset it. It's no big deal. I beg your finest fucking pardon! What? They can reset? Yeah, what are you doing? I have to go! I buried mine in the backyard when I was 6! Daddy's coming, little Echo! Hey, buddy, what you up to?
Every millennial feels that one. All right, let's see. Actual good news. What is this?
Genuinely insane, because in a single week or so we have seen some crazy achievements in medicine. A team of researchers at Spain's National Cancer Research Center was able to completely eliminate pancreatic tumors in mouse models, which is one of the
interesting.
highest death rate cancers in the world. But then the team
Yeah, my
behind it
uncle
wanted to
passed to that.
continue the research on this, but needed $30 million in funding, which originally was the end of the line for them. Which honestly is sad to think about, that none of the rich fucks that could give him money that wouldn't even make them feel that loss stepped up. But who did step up was the general public, raising over $2.5 million right when they were about to give up. But that's not the only victory in medicine. South Korean scientists were able
have
to
no
develop
idea why
a
I posted
real-life
twice.
Fortnite med mist that is able to stop severe bleeding instantly, that reacts with the blood on contact, making it a gel-like consistency that not only closes wounds but also helps accelerate the
This is
natural
neat.
clottering process. Doctors in Vietnam were able to cure leukemia in a 12-year-old.
Bring it to America. They'll only let rich people have it because they're going to charge like $10,000 a round. And your insurance is not going to be able to cover it, even though you get the PA from your doctor. Because we don't have health care in the USA, we have sick care. I didn't mean
girl
to skip
with
political,
the help
but
of
you know
stem
it's gonna
cell
happen
therapy,
like
and a South Korean scientist team was able to reverse cancer cells into normal cells because they were able to find the exact molecule switch that can induce cancer reversal. Legit reverse curse technique on cancer. Yeah, I just thought I'd tell you about these truly insane medical breakthroughs, at least in
there's
my
the review
opinion,
on
to
Stream
shine some
Channel
good
and
news
Discord.
into the day. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. All right. From Tech Potato, Han sent in, networking is getting an upgrade. Good God, that rat's nest in the thumbnail. That's trauma right there. Next video. I'm kidding. Okay.
One of my 3 key technologies to look for in the semiconductor industry today is how we're going to connect chips together. There are multiple ways to connect chips together. We have the scale up, where you try and make multiple GPUs or AI accelerators essentially work as one, or you have scale out, where you take multiple servers of GPUs and accelerators and then get them to work as one. The delineation is whether you have essentially almost a unified memory space of GPUs, or you just have a data center of GPUs. Today, for both, we're pretty much using copper exclusively.
I think so.
I'll caveat that in a second. But copper going up to 800 gig is in widespread use. When we talk about things like NVLink and other interconnect standards, they're all using copper, whether it's through traces in a board or in a backplane. And we're seeing that go to, gigabytes per second pretty quickly. I mean, there was a time where we thought it wouldn't go beyond 100 megabytes a second. That actually...
Well, to be fair, a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's in close proximity for a lot of these different technologies. Right now, once you get past 10, when you're wanting to do like 100-meter stretches, 10 gigabit is still kind of pushing it. Theoretically, my understanding is you could do 40, but even then, you want to go to fiber optic at a certain point.
But it's been a scaling technology that kind of does have a limit. As you go faster and faster and faster with copper, the distance in which you can drive that data transfer is shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yeah,
that's why you can get a 1 kilometer gigabit Ethernet cable, but the cables that go into a big NVL72 rack realistically have a range limit of about 2 meters. And as we go from 800 gig to 1.6 terabit to 3.2 terabit, that distance is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And that's a problem because Jensen has 3 things to say about copper in his systems. It's cheap, it's reliable, and it's cheap. Now, I've said on the channel before that the way that something like the NVL72, the way that these rack scale machine learning systems scale, in a scale up fashion at least, is that you almost have to redefine what it means to be a rack. We don't have the standard 19, 21-inch wide, 42, 52, 58U tall. It looks like, based on, for example, AMD's Helios, we're going to go to double wide, because that way you can keep all of those 2-meter connections within the same sort of 2-meter cube. I know the diagonal is a little bit longer, but what have you. The point here is that the longer you can keep copper going, the cheaper it is. Let's just not talk about how much copper weighs in a data center. Now, the other extreme of copper is optical, and I've done a number of videos about optical.
Generally over longer distances. So once you get past 100 meters, in most copper Ethernet applications, to be specific, it's not spec to go longer than that. And fiber optic is like better. So like if you're doing a connection between 2 buildings and you want it to be high speed, you're generally going to want fiber optic. And then what you may do is convert from fiber optic to copper on the other end with some kind of a backplane or a switch or something like that. But yeah.
Is
the antivirus best antivirus just common knowledge on not downloading random stuff? In most cases, yeah, but the best antivirus these days isn't really antivirus, it's EDR, XDR, which is endpoint detection and response and extended detection and response. It runs based off of what the applications are doing rather than signatures. Antivirus itself is outdated.
On this channel, the way that optical is already being used from top of rack switches in the data center using transceivers. That's when you get your cable that has a electrical to optical connection on one side and
Right.
on the other, and you connect it into switches. And the switch doesn't care that it's optical.
Yeah, it doesn't. Like in the case of my switches, I have direct attached copper on my SFP ports. You can get an SFP to RJ45 connection, but realistically, when you're doing that, you just want a direct attached copper because it's going to run a lot hotter and it's not going to be as efficient. But at a certain point, you may want to do fiber optic interconnects, but either way, SFP is not going to care. It's just going to see
Just sees data in, data out, and just gets it as it is. We're moving into this era of co-packaged optics. You know, whether you believe the switches coming out of NVIDIA and Broadcom are actually co-packaged or onboard optics.
EDR, EDR, Echo Delta Romeo, and then that's endpoint detection response, and then you have extended detection response, which is X-ray Delta Romeo.
We've got companies like
businesses are more so using
like
that.
Celestial, like Light Matter, showcasing that actually some form of
a lot of the mid-range switches have SFP. Mine do. When I go to 10 gigabit networking, after I pay down some bills, I'll probably go 10 gigabit on both links. So I'll be going 10 gigabit from the pfSense router firewall to 10 gigabit on an SFP connection on the core switch, and then another 10 gigabit from there to the PoE switch. But then a lot of the devices in the network are going to have like gigabit or 2.5 gigabit, and maybe a few will get 10 gigabit. But almost all the 10 gigabit stuff will be stuff located inside the rack. Like eventually I'll upgrade the NAS to either have a 10 gigabit NIC or upgrade the entire NAS as a whole to have that. But yeah.
Packaged optics, where the optical chiplet is actually in the AI accelerator itself, can provide better chip-to-chip connectivity, higher bandwidth, lower latency, and go across the data center where copper cannot. That's the optical idea of scale out.
Yeah, this is a lot of data center stuff.
A company approached me recently that's trying to do something in the middle. Something that's not as limited as 2 meters of copper, can go a bit further, but also not as
I've had the same
expensive as
result.
optical. It's a company with the weirdest name. They're called Point 2 Technologies. I got around.
I've even had cable technicians when they come to service my cable internet, and they come down and they see the network rack on the wall, and they're like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "That's my home network." And like, "This is your home network?" I'm like, "Yeah. That's the modem you need to deal with over there, bud. The rest of that's mine."
Email, they said, "Hey, this is what we're doing. Do you want to have a chat with us?" So I had a meeting with them. I've read the white paper, and I want to kind of go through it with you, just to, as a sanity check, to make sure it's actually, real and going to be worth looking at. And sponsoring this part of the video is ASM, a company working on some of the most complex material challenges in the semiconductor world. Every chip we talk about on this channel, whether it's a new AI accelerator or next generation CPU, depends on hundreds of layers, 10 atoms tall apiece,
You would think
stacked
that a lot
to
of the
perfect
cable
precision
technicians
with
get
zero
set
atomic
up and actually
variation.
understand what the hell
Those
they're
layers
operating
decide
on,
how fast current
they're
flows
not.
and how much heat is
They're just
produced.
basic
ASM's
technicians
deposition and
that get
epitaxy
tools
tools
and-
create those layers by controlling chemistry one atom at a time.
Cloud is
Their
big
systems
pain
run
in
in
the
fabs
butt
across the
when building
globe,
a simple
forming the
HTML
foundation
website
for the
that
logic
just displays an
transistors,
image.
memory devices, interconnects, and power devices that drive modern computers.
That's because you got to learn how to drive an AI to do things the way you want. And as I tell people all the time, just because you have AI doesn't mean AI will be able to do the thing you want if you can't effectively drive it. For example, here we can take a little detour for a minute here. This is a little website I put together for, if I can spell my own username right, good God. Not that much wine. Okay, so this is a little website that I built. And I had Claude help me out with it a little bit. I'm going to turn off dark mode over here because it messes with it because I made it natively dark mode. Now, okay, you look at it and it's like, that's, nice. It's a basic little thing. But I also coded it so it's responsive. So you see how I have it designed so that same website, when I'm on a cell phone, can then adapt. And then you're on a desktop. Cell phone, desktop. Cell phone, desktop. You see, it can adjust however I need it. But anyway, how I got a lot of that working was by dealing with Claude. And all that is, yeah, it's this. It's only that, where if I can do preview. How do I preview? I have an extension in here to, yeah, there we go, show preview. So you can see, it's literally just one simple HTML file and CSS. But that's because I knew generally what I wanted to look at, how to do, what I wanted. That's why I tell people, like, okay, there's all these things lovable and all that, but people are overhyping the capabilities of AI because, you know, like, people are like, oh, AI is going to replace the need for software engineers and all that. No, it's not. You're still going to need engineers to know how to engineer the thing that you want, and AI has limitations with context windows and other things. But yeah. Yeah, AI is just a tool. Like many of the people you probably met along in high school. Lovable is a GPT wrapper with prompt engineering, which still produces slop. But yeah, I know quite a few people that have made things with Lovable, and they're like, I just can't get it to do what I need. And I'm like, because you're at the point, you need to hire a proper software engineer. You need a proper programmer to get it to where you need it. If you want to do a quick POC, Lovable's great for that. But there's a lot of limitations with those apps. But anyway.
It is engineering so precise that even a single misplaced atom can make a difference. To see how that precision enables everything from data centers to electric vehicles, visit asm.com today.
So when it comes to chip-to-chip connectivity, let's just imagine it as that spectrum. On one side, you've got high-speed copper with limited range. It's low cost, and it's relatively high power. On this end, you've got the optical, which is high bandwidth, high cost, but low power per bit, or at least the goal is, you know, when it's fully integrated and we've got a few generations down the line. In the middle is where point 2 wants to operate.
Okay.
And they're doing this with optical fibers, but instead of shining light down it, they're shining radio frequency.
Wait, what?
This caused the stuff on the back of my neck to flare up, and I said, well, hang on, wait, what? Wait, you're sending my mobile phone signal down an optical fiber? And they went, yeah. Like,
what? Wait, what?
I did sit down with them.
My ham radio brain does not compute this. How does this work? Tell me your magic voodoo, magic man.
And their value prop is kind of simple. It comes in multiple phases depending on, you know, where you want to talk about in the roadmap. What they've designed initially is a standard chip-to-chip transceiver cable, which means that, you know, inside you have the electrical conversion to whatever you're converting it into. It goes down, it goes through the cable to the other end where the conversion happens in reverse. This is where NVIDIA says, you know, you can be spending 30 watts per cable just in that conversion at high speed. They're saying that their technology, they've got a chip, they've got the infrastructure to build the modules, or at least license somebody to build the modules, that converts your electrical signal into an RF signal. The RF signal goes down an optical fiber, and a really basic optical fiber. They said you could probably buy the stuff at Home Depot.
Wait, what?
And at the other end does conversion. The trade-off, or at least the balance, they say, is that, okay, it's going to be slightly more expensive than copper. You're not going to get around that because you're dealing in a different conversion.
So he's talking like right here, it's more expensive than DAC, so direct attached copper. Like the connections I was talking about earlier, that, you know, I have the 2 SFP ports basically linking my switches together for 2x1 instead of using RJ45. But yeah.
Medium and economics of scale. The cable itself is cheap, or the way that they've designed it, the cable to deal with noise is cheap. It can go a distance of around 7 to 10 meters. which breaks that 2 meter limitation of high-speed copper.
Yeah, that could be cross-rack.
Also, it will scale to 1.6, 3.2 terabit.
Wait,
it may
what?
not scale to the ultimate bandwidth frequencies that optical will do, 10, 20 years down the line. But the idea is that it provides this medium. Now, initially, this is just a transceiver into a cable, right? There are multiple, you have range in your power budget to do that because it's not taking power away from your compute ASIC like a co-packaged optics module would. But their roadmap essentially says, oh yeah, we want to do the co-packaged optics thing as well. So this is their white paper. I want to talk you through it. They've got some, basic guff about, AI infrastructure and that sort of thing.
Yeah, of course, you got the AI fluff.
And they go through, the ability to support 3.2 terabits per second at around 10 meters, essentially changing the scale-up paradigm if you can manage, if you have the power to spare for that conversion in your transceiver cable. As many of the topics, as many of the companies in this space, the whole value prop is let's extend machine learning. Yep, we know that.
I'm really tired of how everyone is just on this AI ML hype.
With copper is that it just doesn't, you lose fidelity of your signal as you try and increase the frequency, increase the bandwidth.
Right.
And increase the distance, and that's just not tenable.
Yeah, that's just been an issue with
optics
copper
does
forever.
a good job, but it isn't here yet. It's more expensive,
right?
And the power value prop still needs to be improved. So their technology is called eTube. So they say here, and I'll highlight it. eTube is a interconnect technology in which millimeter wave RF, so the radio frequency in your phone, is transmitted and received via a plastic dielectric core. So it's not even a glass
to the actual goal.
Fiber.
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely there just to, grab all the idiot investors that are just throwing money at things going, ooh, shiny. Like, seriously, if you've ever actually had the opportunity to talk to a lot of investors, they're fucking morons on tech. You send them the right buzzwords and everything, and they're like, okay, here's the check.
It's a plastic fiber, one that's transparent.
Don't ever let people tell you that just because somebody's wealthy means that they're smart.
The plastic dielectric core with a thin metal, and that prevents crosstalk from other cores, meaning you can bundle cables together, and that's how you extend your bandwidth by just having multiple cables.
So is it like one cable is TX and the other, you're going to have another for RX? Because I don't know if the cable itself would be a bidirectional.
So the chip they've created converts your signal into a higher band millimeter wave frequency. It's then launched into the eTube core. eTube, okay, that's an interesting name. Using an on-chip microstrip to waveguide transition, and then it connects the RF transmitter and receiver chips through the cable. They also have the ability to go in 90-degree angles. That's quite important. And ultimately, at the end of the day,
yeah, because you got to be careful of bend radius,
100 gig SerDes, 200 gig, and the future 400 gig. It says in this white paper 7 meters. They actually said this white paper is a couple of years old. They can go to 10 meters now at full speed, and it's fine. And the way that their system works is they actually have a 224 gig connection inside the chip. They split your data into two frequencies, 99 gigahertz and 176 gigahertz.
Interesting.
And
Wonder why they do that.
That's two 112 gig connections, go through the cable, and then you, on the receiving end, you do the back conversion and get the data out. They're saying it's a PAM4 signal. This is a image essentially of their chip-to-core connector. The idea being that in the same way that your smartphone will have a RF modem, because the RF is generated on chip and you don't need power amplifiers, you don't need waveguide tuners in the same way you do with a smartphone. Right. It's a lot simpler design in order to do that.
I guess that makes sense.
You just need the phase lock loops and everything to be of the right timing. And the data here shows that, while Jensen is saying that a 30 watts per cable is a lot, and if you can reduce that with optics, that's great. They're saying here that they can do around 10 watts per cable at a distance of 7 to 10 meters at around 4 nanoseconds per meter. So 40 nanoseconds, plus they're saying the latency here is around 100 picoseconds. For what is...
And that may not sound like a lot of power to be used, but when you're talking about there's multiple cables there, like you're talking about in these racks, like you could easily have 100, 200 watts being used just from the cables there. So, if you could reduce it from 30 to 10, that's significant. Optical will reduce it even more, but I think this is a good middle ground as he's talking about, if this is actually legitimate technology.
800 gig cable. So for, what was that, 40.2 nanoseconds for the maximum length cable, and shorter if you need it. How that compares to copper and optical, it's probably going to be comparable, right? One of the benefits here, and it's weird that this is a benefit, but it actually matters if you speak to people who distribute large systems based on copper. Copper is actually heavy.
Yeah.
So if you've got to have a lot of it, if you've got to have what's here an active electrical cable, this means essentially your cable has a retimer in it, so it can go beyond 2 meters. In this case, it says a 3 meter. It also means it has to be a thick cable in order to manage it. The weight of that cable matters, because suddenly you've got multiple tons of copper in your system. And that costs as well. So they're saying that their E-tube cables are a lot thinner than essentially comparative copper ones in order to provide an equivalent 800 gig comparison. They even have eye diagrams here of their 112 gig PAM4 connection. They even provide things like a bit error rate of 10 to the negative 10. I know depending on what area of connectivity you work in, 10 to the negative 12 or 10 to the negative 9 or 10 to the negative 6 can be your limit here. So 10 to the negative 10 means that's 1 bit in every trillion or 10
1
billion.
bit in every billion.
I'll put the exact number up on the line, but yeah, and that's just how much the error rate is, and that's kind of like an upper bound, not an average as well. They are talking about scalability because obviously this is a first generation product that sounds like they're coming out of stealth to provide. They say that the same cable can support 448 gig using the 130 gigahertz and 260 gigahertz low band, high band, and then even higher data rates on top of that. And here's a table showing how they're doing.
Okay, so the cables have
characteristics
transmit
of scalability.
and receive as separate cables.
Here's a diagram of
inside that cable.
Transceiver module. Again, stick it in. It's a cable. Works great for switches. Also sounds like it would work for chip-to-chip connectivity if that's how you want to implement it. And here's the comparison of what it looks like inside each of these transceivers versus a passive copper cable to an active copper cable, active electrical cable, and active optical cable. Just to showcase
it's relatively simple.
It's clearly obviously not as cheap as a passive direct attach copper, but it's going to be cheaper than an active optical or an active electrical cable. And they've got some metrics here. Obviously, take with a pinch of salt. These are probably metrics based on at scale cost and at scale power. But they're saying, compared to copper, I mean, realistically, if it's just transceivers, it should be direct replaceable, right?
Right. You shouldn't have to engineer a whole new port for it. You should just be able to plug that in with new modules.
It says 2024.
The switch won't know the difference.
But they're basically positioning it as this is a standard replacement now for all your switch-to-switch connect.
So they may already have it pre-terminated. Like if you go and buy these DAC cables, like let me show you what I'm talking about. DAC cable. So if you get a DAC cable, let me see if I can get some good pictures here. 1 second. This should be good enough. Okay. So if you look at the cable, you get a DAC cable that's already pre-terminated. So you get the length in there. You don't really custom terminate these cables. It's probably going to be the same thing with that. There's a lot of the cables that are pre-terminated. Now, there are some fiber optic cables you can terminate them yourselves potentially, but in most cases, you're not doing the termination yourself. At least not in a data center.
Or your essentially everything that requires a transceiver. The future with on board or on package eTube, RF,
data transfer through glass. They're sending RF waves through it, it seems like.
It's probably still a way away, and they're probably...
So, light is basically light as we know it. The optical cable that shoots the little red light or whatever in there is really no different than an RF signal. They're both wavelengths of energy. It's just that we can't see radio signals. That makes sense? So it's designed to pick up on that. It's definitely different because you're thinking of like optical as, you know, that being something that you'll see. This is networking is getting an upgrade from Tech Potato.
Going to come up with all the same issues that companies like NVIDIA and IR Labs have come up with in terms of bundling co-packaged optics and RF. Can't imagine what RF inside, you know, on a chiplet next to an ASIC or co-packaged with an ASIC will do to the signaling on there. That might be interesting, especially at these high gigahertz frequencies. But we'll have to wait and see. When I spoke to Point 2, it definitely sounds like they don't want to be the manufacturer, they want to be the licensee of this technology, which kind of puts them in a different bucket to where we'd normally consider, again, a company like IR Labs who wants to produce the chiplet solution and sell the chiplet solution and work with partners. These people want to work with a partner who will build the cables and build the transceivers on their own, leaving Point 2 in the high margin business while somebody else effectively...
Well, we know why you want to join the Navy. You like being around a bunch of other dudes on a boat. In the Navy! I'm sorry, that's a joke. But come on, the jokes are there.
Chances are we're going to see a lot more out of these guys when we come up to the next optical conference. As I'm filming this, I think it's the week of hot interconnects, for example. This probably won't feature in this because it's again more of a scale out right now rather than scale up. But we do have AI Infrastructure Summit coming up in September. That might already be done by the time this video comes out. And then a lot more of the
tonight. Oh, we're going through a bunch of videos that people wanted me to review. This video was just about networking getting an upgraded by sending RF signals through optical cables.
Yeah, that's the Optical Fiber Communications Conference. I should be there. I'll check out with these guys to see where they are in the roadmap. And it also means that I now need to go add this to the AI Hardware Show as one of our episodes that we haven't recorded yet. That's going to be interesting. Realistically, does this matter going from 2 meters to 7 meters? To replace, you know, everything Jensen's saying about cheap, reliable, and cheap?
Not necessarily.
All really depends on how cheap it is and whether that reliability from 7 to 10 meters actually makes sense. Need to see this working firstly in the lab and then at scale to make a true definitive recommendation on this. But I'll keep tabs. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Okay, so let's see. Red Vampire put a lot of videos in for me to review that we're still catching up on.
British guy turned those old phone jacks in his house into gigabit Ethernet hookups. The self-proclaimed HFT guy shared in a blog post about how fed up he's been with the unreliability of power line adapters, which are those little boxes that pass an internet signal through your home's electrical.
Right, and I hate power line adapters. You should always use them as an absolute last resort. There's so many issues with them. I don't even know why a lot of people use them, but they're just horrible.
So, in order to reclaim house-wide wired internet access, he repurposed something that British people apparently can't get enough of: phone sockets. After a ton of research, the HFT guy found a hyper-specific piece of hardware that literally takes a landline hookup and passes it through a little box and converts it to an Ethernet cable that can then plug straight into a computer or a laptop for a wired internet connection.
You know what? That actually makes a lot of sense. I don't know what the cabling is like over in Europe, but it's like, what is this, an RJ11? I mean, for short distances, yeah, you could do an RJ11 to blast it out over there. Essentially what you have, what is it, 4 connectors versus 8 on RJ45. So, I mean, this makes total sense, and this is actually, I think, a better approach if you have a phone system in the house. Because you would have less noise on the line than a power line adapter. Power line adapters are just horrible because of the electrical noise on an AC line, and technically, whenever you're using a power line adapter, it's going down the line. So what it may end up doing is, let's put it this way. If I have a power line adapter from this office over here, this corner over here, which has a dedicated circuit that I installed, I have a 20 amp circuit, just literally this outlet over here, just for these computers. There's another circuit in my ham shack over there for the whole wall over there. And there's another one. This room has 4 circuits just to itself. One for the 3D printers, one for the computers over here, one for the ham shack, and another one that's the original circuit. Anyway, if I put a power line adapter in this corner over here, and I want to have it share the connection over there, it's effectively going to have to go up through the electrical panel, all the way through the breaker box, back out to the other circuit over there. So it travels a very long way over a very noisy line. And essentially it's just blasting it out, and then another thing on the line saying, it's basically going like, hey, can you hear me? And then the other thing's just going like, hey, bitch, I can hear you. So it's a very inefficient way to do data transfer with power line adapters. What firewall do I run? I run pfSense on a Supermicro super server that I built a few weeks ago. I just upgraded. So now I'm running on a Supermicro E300 8D with an Intel Xeon D1518 CPU and 32 gigabytes of RAM. RJ12 is telephone. RJ11 are the phone to receiver, if I remember right. No, I think they're just all RJ11 plugs. Yeah, most power line adapters only can do about 100 megabits. You can technically throw more at it, but it's not reliable past that because of the amount of noise on the line. It's the same technology as the power line, just travels to NID and bounces around the house on jack. Yeah, but a phone line is a lot less noisy.
Called the G4201TM from Gigacopper, and this fellow was able to use it to translate a telephone wire into nearly an entire gigabit of download data transfer speed. Some British...
Yeah, that makes sense. I still think you should properly run, you know, Ethernet if possible, but I mean, it's reasonable. Okay, when you have everything in your pockets, what is this from Matt and Justice that Vampire shared with me?
I wish you had a pocket knife to cut this tag.
Oh, I have one in my pocket.
No way!
I have everything in my pockets. I'm always prepared.
I wish you had some
I have a pocket knife in my pocket almost all the time, too.
food. I could really go for a steak right now.
Oh, I have a steak in my pocket.
What?
Yeah, I have everything in my
Okay, now
pocket.
that's a bit much.
You have a steak in your pocket.
Would you like a side of mac and cheese?
Why don't you have a steak in your pocket?
I have everything in my pockets. I'm always prepared.
I wish you brought my dog in your pocket. He would have loved this part.
Oh, I have your dog in my pocket.
What do you mean you have my dog in your pocket?
I have everything in my pockets. I'm always prepared.
Is that my dog?
Ah, come on, Sprinkles, come on.
Oh my God! How do you have my dog in your pocket?
What the hell?
I'm always prepared.
Well, if you have everything in your pocket, why don't you pull out my dad who left me as a kid?
Oh, I have your dad in my pocket. Let me get it.
Wait, what?
Ah, come on, John, you can do it.
What the fuck?
Is that my dad?
I can see the light.
Oh my God, it's my dad! Oh my God!
Hey, sweetheart, long time no see.
Dad, why did you abandon us?
I didn't leave. I was in your boyfriend's pocket. I have everything in my pockets. I'm always prepared.
Well, can I have some gum? Because my breath kind of stinks.
Oh, I don't have gum.
What? I wish you had a pocket knife.
What the fuck? That's the one thing he doesn't have? This is me. I have multiple pocket knives. Well, Abby, I've met you. This does not surprise me. Okay, what is this? Vampire shared. Meet the Poom. The 5 gigahertz powerhouse no one is talking about from Talking Sasquatch. Okay. Is this just another hacker gadget thing?
This isn't just...
Because I'm going to be honest, it feels like we're oversaturated with hacker gadgets that do a lot of the same shit. So what is the difference with this?
other Kickstarter gadgets. The developers saw things like the Flipper Zero and the Ardu Boy, and they wanted to be part of that community. I've had it recommended to me a couple times, but honestly, I feel like it's one of the most slept-on Kickstarters I have seen in a long time.
Mayo
This
pockets are
is
connected to a
Palm.
Fey
This
realm.
adorable little device has 4 separate modes.
I want that
depending
one
on what
because
you're trying to do
gaming.
with it.
I don't know if I'd buy it just for a
As you can
gaming
tell,
thing,
This is a
or even
project
at all.
made with love. If you notice you haven't really heard much about it, it's because they took all their money, put it into production, not advertising. That's something I can get behind. Inspired by projects like the Ardu Boy and the Flipper Zero, they wanted to make a product that is pretty much an all-in-one, and I really think they accomplished it. Alright, so that's enough intro for today. This is Palm.
This video is for educational purposes only. Only test your own hardware. Doing otherwise is illegal. Don't be a skid.
Alright, so I guess really the first thing to do is just to hop on down to the Kickstarter and see what Palm's all about. Alright, so here's the Kickstarter, link down below, and actually I've got this extra special link for you guys to get a discount, so make sure you check that out. So one thing you'll notice right here, we can scroll down a little bit, they only had a $10,000 goal, and they're only at about 20 grand, which really isn't that much for most of these projects. They really haven't spent a ton of money or anything.
So the interesting thing is, it's 5 gigahertz, 2.4. It can also do Zigbee. Don't know what thread is, and then Bluetooth low energy. So that's an interesting thing.
On marketing, so I think it's kind of held them back a little bit.
I don't know.
Generating fun standpoint, but you know they're making a really cool project, and I think at the end of the day, it'll work out for them. So let's go ahead and check out the trailer. So right off the rip, you can see it has NFC, which is actually one of the more useful things I use on the Flipper Zero, so great feature.
Not long ago, a new device was born. Its name, Palm, the maker.
So this is what I was saying before. It's got multiple different modes. It's super cool. So let's check out Maker mode. This is going to enable some GPIO functions, ICE2C, all sorts of great stuff.
It's a fully open source. With a quick connector, you can add anything. It has an SD card slot, USB-C for charging and debugging, and a low-power MCU.
Still not seeing what's hyped about
We're going to make it with a ESP32C6. However, because the ESP32C5 just came out and that's tri-band, that makes it so much more useful. So it's absolutely amazing that they've updated it to the C5.
And with NAN node, you can trigger automations on call webhooks. The Zen mode creates sound for movement.
Okay, so this is a really cool idea. They've got Zen mode, which is basically looks like an accelerometer-controlled music creation thing. It's air guitar.
I was gonna say it makes sense if you do air guitar, but maybe if I'm drunk, I'll use it.
You're not using it to do other stuff. It's cool. I like it. I think it's cool.
With the NFC RFID wallet, carry Metro cards, office badges, and built-in access all in one device. Store any signal. The gamer. Palm is your Bluetooth controller. Ready for...
So they actually directly cited the Ardu Boy. My buddy Cal had a 30+ minute long interview with the devs for Palm. It's really cool. Go watch it. Check out his channel. Awesome stuff. But yeah, they were really inspired by that.
You still working on trying to get a motion alarm working for your e-bike? You've been talking about that for months.
And brought it directly into Palm.
For Mac OS, Windows, or Android, it runs the full Ardu Boy library. Over 200 games from the open source community.
I don't know how comfortable that would be, because look how small that is.
Super, super cool that you can actually add that many decent games. Plus, it's got a real controller setup. It's not like trying to play games on a Flipper Zero. It actually looks pretty useful, honestly.
I don't know. I'm still like, what's the hype around this?
Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Zigbee, Thread, Matter, Wi-Fi 6, phone spoofing, and drone ID, war driving, Wi-Fi sniffers, deauthored, SSID spammers, Wireshark integration, all the hacking tools. It's not a hacking device.
Okay, so that's a lot to kind of dig into. That is full-on pretty much Flipper Zero.
So many of these already exist. This is cool, but what makes it way different? And that's the perspective I'm coming at. Like, okay, that's cool and all, but what's the hype around this particular one? It's like there's so many out there. I can make a device. I can, like there are a dime a dozen nowadays that I'm just like, is this just because like they're like, hey, let's make something like the Flipper Zero? But I'm like, you don't need something like the Flipper Zero when the Flipper Zero exists. You should make something that's better than the Flipper Zero. It's an answer to a question no one asked. That's a good way to put it. This feels like final project capstone.
Plus Wi-Fi. Again, they've got a lot of protocols that they're covering, and it seems to be like an extremely, extremely capable device. I'll spoil the secret. Right now for Kickstarter, it's starting at about $100, which is a great deal.
I mean, maybe.
Seriously. But remember,
But with a small device like that, I gotta wonder about the trade-offs on it. And the problem with the Flipper Zero already as it is that, like, so many people kept coming into my channel like, should I buy a Flipper Zero? And I'm like, the Flipper Zero is a fun toy. Are you actually gonna seriously use it? Or are you gonna buy it, play with it a little bit, and then throw it in a drawer and not use it for months at a time? As I've done.
Palm can be
In fact, I don't
anything
even
you
know
want
where
it
my
to be.
Flipper is now. Somewhere around here.
Palm. Pen test. Play. Create. Back us now on Kickstarter.
I'm super psyched for this device because it feels like kind of a breath of fresh air, and it's turning into a pretty saturated market. Alright, so time to keep scrolling down and check out the Kickstarter. So right now, at the time of filming, which is probably a week before...
The honest truth is, for me, it's like, I don't really need my, you know, pen testing devices and all that to do gaming. I'm not getting them to do gaming. And I'm certainly not getting my gaming devices to do pen testing. I believe in having a specific tool for a specific purpose, and if I need to enhance it, I'll, you know, add modules or do whatever. The Hack 5 pager looks cooler. Yeah, the Hack 5 pager definitely looks a lot cooler. You know where the Flipper Zero is? In my pocket!
There are 11 days to go, which means if you want to grab one of these during the Kickstarter, you're going to have to work quick. So again, link down below and save a few bucks. All right, let's keep moving. So yeah, you can see that we have the early bird special for $99. And if we scroll down the sidebar here, backers, and yeah, you can still get it for that. And again, remember, use the link. I don't know what the discount is, but I know there's a discount. So yeah, I said this is Poom. It's an open source, and actually I'm going to say it wrong a bunch, Poom, and it's actually Palm. They wanted to initially name it Pong, P-O-N-G, but for obvious reasons, can't do that. So
and Palm or Poom really sounds like Poon. Don't tell me you didn't think about that. But, like, the honest truth is, like, here's the thing. Okay, so they're trying to make a Flipper Zero-esque device. The thing about the Flipper Zero, though, that everyone forgets when they're making another Flipper Zero device, you know, is the Flipper Zero is so successful for the same reason the Raspberry Pi is. Yes, you can get a lot of Raspberry Pi alternatives. My drawer has a bunch of them. But why do people still go to the Raspberry Pi? Why do people still go to the Flipper Zero? Because of the community. Because of the modules around it due to the community and the support around it. So you make another device with all these capabilities. Are you going to have that community support the device and do the amazing things that you expect that are come out of the Flipper Zero? Because if not, there's a lot of these devices that are going to fizzle out. That's the problem. I'm not hating on the product at all. It's just, what does this do different?
it's Palm. Again, I'm sorry if I say it wrong. It's just brain mush.
Why would
not
people
great.
get
This
this
is Palm,
specifically
an
for
open
gaming?
source
I don't know why they
multi-tool
would
that
either.
pen test, play, create. It's for makers, security learners, gamers, and anybody who loves to explore how tech works. Palm is a multi-tool packed with 4 different modes. And now we can look at some actual tech specs on here. Super easy. We've got a single cell LiPo battery, so it's got kind of a coin battery. So it's, I don't know what the battery life is on it, but we'll have to wait.
That's
and see.
questionable.
A lot of times you can actually upgrade those batteries to something a little bit more substantial.
No, 1-cell lithium polymer. So that's not a coin cell. That's a actual rechargeable lithium polymer pack. So that basically each cell in lithium polymer is 3.7 volts. So it's just rechargeable. They're just more compact than lithium ion. About the only thing this has as an advantage of the other devices that I've seen is that Zigbee, that connection over there in 5 GHz Wi-Fi. But again, you stick a module in, you can do that with just about anything.
Especially if you can print your own cases. Because remember, this thing's pretty small, so we might be able to get a little bit of added battery in there. So they've got the touch buttons and a D-pad. What's interesting is they actually went for membrane keys because they want.
I do want to say that it's interesting that they say 1-cell lithium polymer is 3.7 volt, but they don't tell us the actual watt-hour, milliampere capacity of the battery.
certain button feel to it, which honestly, like, you could just throw on any buttons on there, most people won't notice, but they went the extra mile and went for membranes, which I thought really showed that they're putting in the extra fit and finish to this device. So it will have Wi-Fi 5, Wi-Fi 6, 2.4, because it's got the ESP32C5. Can't go wrong there.
Could be a 20 quad A battery.
Got Zigbee, Thread, and Matter.
If they have a lithium polymer to do that,
Access
yeah.
IMU accelerometer, which you're using to make the music and stuff. I'm super interested to see how this thing works. When I get one in hand, I'll make a hands-on video with this, because honestly, I think this might be one of the more popular devices out there, especially seeing as kind of how underground it is. I feel like it's going to be kind of a cult classic for those who know. Then it does have, yeah, a 13.56 megahertz RFID reader and writer with NFC. So it checks a lot of boxes. So you can see the device right here, and it does share an homage or something to the already.
Okay, it's just basically another device. I'm like, what is the hype around this? You know what? We're just gonna like skip through and I'll look it up myself, so that way I don't have to go through this. Poom device. Okay. So let's just go through this ourselves. Okay, so it's obviously got a lot more money now, than that happened. So, got that setting over there. They've upped the price to $120 for what they have right now. Maker mode, a Zen mode, NFC, wallet, and emulator, so you can do that like with a lot of the other NFC stuff. Gamer mode, again, not sure why you would really want to use this for gaming, but I mean, if you want to do that, by all means. I'm pretty sure a lot of the people that want to do gaming on the go will probably end up doing it with a Steam Deck or something, or a Switch or something like that. Beast mode. It's got Wireshark integration. Okay, so it's got all of these little things in there, which, I mean, you can do with Flipper Zero and a lot of other stuff. The deauth scanner, all that. I mean, it's got, this is not anything new. The Zigbee sniffing, I mean, it's interesting because it's not normally there. Cool. Now when they say it's Wireshark friendly format. So when they say Wireshark integration, they're not saying it's running Wireshark, which I didn't think it would be with an ESP32. It's just merely going to capture it probably in a PCAP for you to be able to do that. Okay. I mean, no hate to this device, but I'm honestly not seeing the appeal. And I mean that in the way of there's so many other devices just like this. No hate to this device whatsoever. Yeah. I just don't see the justification in, like, me going out and buying one or even recommending it to other people. Again, what's the community gonna be like and all of that stuff? Maybe the community takes off and then, yeah. Oh, yeah, but hacker air guitar. Yeah, I know. Like, oh, yeah, I can totally, you know, capture Wi-Fi packets and then jam out to Aerosmith on my air guitar over here. Like, it's fun, it's a neat little toy, but I'm going to guarantee you what's going to happen with most of the people that get this. Oh, that's cool, plays with it for a day or two, throws it in drawer, forgets about it. Absolutely no hate to the creator of these projects, but the honest truth is, I'm not that enthusiastic about it. Anyway. Okay, I'm not watching a 55-minute video for this. I'll have to put a pin in that for later. But thank you, Hans. What's this? Unable to reach Mars. Elon Musk... Okay, so HBX shared this in the review on stream. Unable to reach Mars, Musk does the most Musk thing possible. Colonizing Mars has been the... Is this talking about that he's like, yeah, we're just gonna settle for the moon? Is that what he's talking about? Yep! Shifted focus toward building a self-growing city on the moon. Yeah, I bet you all have heard about this. I think he realized, oh yeah, the Mars is a little bit too lofty, but what if we shoot for the moon? You know, the thing that's already been done since the 60s! Oh, but we're gonna have, you know, a moon city like they did in, you know, James Bond movies. Or Wolfenstein. Yeah, Veritasium videos are not super in depth, not Cliff Notes. Oh yeah, I no hate to Veritasium. I love watching their stuff. It's just I don't feel like going into a 55-minute video right now. Because I know if I watch a 55-minute video, with my commentary, it's going to be stretched out to an hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't have the time for that right now. One of my days when I'm on there longer for stream, sure. I'm going to try getting on sooner on Sundays so we can knock out longer content and stuff like that, but for now, it's not a thing that I'm really interested in. But yeah, this whole thing, I mean, let's be honest. You've heard me say it for years. Elon Musk is a grifter. He is. I know there's a lot of evangelicals out there that'll preach from their rooftops like, but the Cybertruck, but rockets and SpaceX. Dude, he just literally has the way of sprinkling on bullshit enough that people throw money at him and think he's a genius because he has a lot of money. He had money to start with, which is why he had more of an opportunity than most of us. But most of the shit that he's come up with, he didn't really even come up with. He paid the people that actually had the brains to do a lot of this stuff. And the people that, like, all of his companies are starting to leave in droves. Because they're realizing it's a bunch of BS. Like, let's give you the idea of, like, how short-sighted, did you sell flamethrowers online? No, but I made a flamethrower out of a super soaker once. It's not that hard. There's tons of videos out there. But, when it comes to Elon Musk, like, here's the reality. Like, he's going around saying, oh, we're gonna have everyone buy 5 Optimus robots, and everyone's gonna be rich with, you know, when AI comes about, but doesn't realize your AI that you're putting in and the Optimus robots are gonna remove the jobs from the people. So how are they gonna have the money to buy the Optimus robot in the first place, which each robot right now is going for what, 20,000 a piece? Hell no. Space exploration would be a lot easier if we had a self-sustaining moon site to build Venator-class vessels in low orbit instead of trying to escape Earth's gravity. Still don't trust Musk. This comment right here. But did you sell any? Not online. But trust me, when you have friends that are dumbass guys like me, and they hear that you can use a flamethrower, they'll buy it. Won't see you manufacturing any self-driving cars. Well, guess what? Neither is Tesla! He's been promising full self-driving for 10 years. Still not happening. Oh yeah, we're gonna have self-driving cars next year in 2015, in 2016. Waymo's further along than he is. 100K isn't very much money. 1 million is even a small loan amount. I see the reference you did there. The flamethrowers didn't make sense. Why? It was all a grift. Yeah, it was basically just a stupid thing. Like, look, flamethrowers have been around since, what, World War I, World War II? Not a new thing. Anyway. Why do people keep crashing into CVS? Okay. Abby, thank you for putting this. This has been something that I have always wondered. Why does this happen? Is it because they're too much on opioids when they're trying to refill their script? Cybertrucks coming to UK soon. They are hinting at a release by putting them everywhere on display. Ew. I thought they're not even legal for the UK because of the regulations and how heavy they are and everything. And, like, the unsafe designs and all that. They're really desperate at trying to sell the Cybertruck. Nobody really wants to buy those. Anyone that's like, oh yeah, I love my Cybertruck. That's because you just like the fact of coping that you spent so much money on a garbage can. I'd rather a Mercedes G-Wagon for that price. I'd rather a Shelby Mustang for that price. Thought EU was boycotting Elon. Well, first off, UK's not EU, but second of all, a lot of sales are declining everywhere for Tesla because they're so far behind the times. Like, once you leave America and you see the EV competition from BYD and Xiaomi, you realize how archaic Tesla is in their approaches with things. I will not buy a Tesla, but I would so buy a BYD Atto 3. Or what is it, that Xiaomi SU7, I think it is? I'm more excited for the BYD to appear in Canada. I want a BYD in the USA. Hell, I would settle for a Toyota EV. I'm looking at the Tello truck. That looks like an interesting concept. It's like a K truck, but an EV. I've seen Jeep Wranglers outperformance a Cybertruck off-road with Jeep reliability issues. I've seen that too. Waiting on Slate to release their truck. The Slate seems interesting, but I'm more a fan of the Tello. But the question is, both with the Tello and the Slate, okay, you can buy the truck, but how are they going to get serviced?
Pretend for a second that you're very, very cool. You're in a helicopter.
Well, this video's over. I'm not cool. See y'all later. Okay.
You're also a professional photographer with a special type of lens. You're in front of a patio or an intersection or perhaps even another helicopter. You're in the right place at the right time with the right equipment and the right skills, and you've taken a photo that kind of looks like The Sims. There's a set of these images that circulates around the internet every now and then, and they never fail to entertain the masses. They really do look like old isometric video games, but there's one that's in a league of its own. It is a picture of a car crashing into the side of a CVS pharmacy. And the other one's the
I remember that image.
tame. They're clearly photographs, but this, I was convinced for a while that this wasn't real. It actually looks like a screenshot from some sort of contorted 90s CD-ROM mystery game you'd find in your basement. Maybe it's the perfectly smooth gleam on the car, maybe it's the low resolution, or maybe it's just the idea of a car crashing into a CVS at all. At this point in time, I would have confidently said that's not something
Red Hat
you see every
Certified
day.
System Administrator? I mean, it can be, but I've never seen jobs specifically ask for it. The reality is HR is the one that cares more about those certs.
Till one day, I wanted to find this image again. So as you do, I googled CVS car and brick wall image, thinking it'd have to be the first or second result. The first and second results were pictures of cars crashing into CVS.
Wait, what?
That I'd never seen before.
What? It happens this much?
Okay, we can stop the music. That's good. They get it. Now, this might seem kind of backwards, but I have to start with some reasons why this isn't that crazy. We're talking about car accidents in the United States, which is kind of like hay in a haystack. I don't even have to leave my state to find mishaps more outrageous than all of these. In fact, you know what? Yeah, let's do an example. Here's one. On a Sunday afternoon in August 2023, a guy crashed his car into a home in Alpharetta, Pennsylvania. A little odd that it was on purpose, and we don't know why, but still not inconceivable. Here's the problem. He crashed into the second floor.
What? 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 How? What? How does... Was there a ramp? How does this happen? Like, there's nothing right here that it could have gone up the wall. But, wait, what? What? How? Did physics take a break that day and then just say, fuck it, do whatever you want? What? What? My brain is completely broken. Americans treat their medians like GTA 5. There is no median here. Okay? Let's go back into that. Hold on. Where were we? Okay, I think I accidentally clicked something. Okay. Okay, so see this? This is a highway in the middle of bumfuck Egypt. I've seen roads like this all over the place. This is flat. Okay? Like, if he came straight on, I would be like, okay, maybe there was a ditch and then he flew into the air. Okay, I'd get that. But this, like, he came in sideways, so it'd have to, like, come up, like, you know, like, it would have to be, like, there. And I don't see how you'd get enough momentum going from your neighbor's yard to do that. Like, how? I am broke. My brain is broken thinking about this.
2023.
You know,
a guy
like,
crashed his car into a home in Alpharetta, Pennsylvania.
I mean,
a little odd that it was on purpose, and we don't know why, but still not in.
Wait, if this was on purpose? Even on purpose, how does it happen?
He crashed into this.
There's no crane. Like, how does this happen? What the hell?
Floor.
The road is
How do
slightly
you do
raised.
that?
Slightly raised. Okay, see, look at this. Look, he's got another Google Street View, all right? I do not see how this is plausible. Like, yeah, you could maybe make the argument of, like, it came up the grass over here as a slight ramp, but do you know how much speed you'd have to have? And then, like, I'm just, like, doing the physics calculations in my head, and I don't believe that Sir Isaac Newton would agree that this car could launch off and go into the house, like, at that angle, doing that. What the hell?
Turns out, no one knows how you do that, because it doesn't make any sense. The leading theory is that the driver turned onto the grass before the driveway, hit the end of an underground drainage pipe, and then something, skip a few pages, car on roof.
I don't see how that happens. It don't happen like that. And there's cornfields over here.
Hey, at least the fire department found speed to be a factor in the crash. That's helpful. I had a feeling that might be involved.
No shit, Sherlock.
Storefront crashes are a commodity in comparison to that. Replace CVS with Walgreens, and wow, it's like a ton of car crashes still. Replace Walgreens with Rite Aid, and again, same thing. Although
I forgot Rite Aid is a thing.
Here. You can't really have customers crashing into stores if you don't have stores or customers. Well,
that's what I was
anyway,
saying.
I think you get the idea. The more you look for this stuff, the more you find, and I guess at a certain point, you just have to accept that this happens a lot. So why am I making this video?
Old people. Old people need to get retested. Is that possibly the reason? I don't know. But I'm still going to say that is a thing that should be done. Is it ageist? Probably. But don't tell me you haven't thought about it. Don't tell me you don't know that elderly person in your life that should have their keys taken away because they're a horrible driver. I knew a few of them like that. They were my grandparents.
Because I think CVS is different. and somehow, I'm not the only one.
It is,
CVS
okay.
stores attract motor vehicles to their perimeters in ways that shouldn't be possible.
Well, hold up. Red Wall, maybe the cars took on the spiritual embodiment of a bull and thought it was a matador. And then they just went red and then just red lining into the red wall. And all they saw was red. Does it make sense? I don't know. But I'm sticking with that theory.
To their perimeters in ways that shouldn't be possible. It's January 20th, 2013. In Foxborough, Massachusetts and Atlanta, Georgia, the NFL semifinals conclude. In D.C., Barack Obama is inaugurated for his second term. It's a deeply American day. But that's not what we care about today. We care about a CVS pharmacy on Long Island in an unincorporated community called Wading River. On January 20th, a 78-year-old man and his wife were parked at the store on the northeast corner of the building.
Okay, I thought they were going to say the old man did this.
I'm pretty sure that's this one. So let's say they're parked here. At this point, you'd put the car into drive and hit the gas. The first part didn't quite happen. There is now the minor inconvenience of a 5x5 foot hole in the wall.
How was I fucking right? Old people and they're driving. Like, this reminds me of the time my grandmother drove into the wall of my house. Not even a fucking joke. Okay? It happened. My grandmother went straight up the driveway up my stairs to the side of the house. Hit the wall. Like, I had to get the siding redone, the railing had to be replaced, and she totaled a car. How did it happen? She mistook the brake and the gas. Mind you, this woman has never been that great of a driver. She should have stopped driving like in her 30s, probably. She's too afraid to drive on the highway. She drives with 2 feet. Do you know how bad that is? Yeah. How the hell I survived being dropped off to school all these years by her is a freaking miracle. There is a God above because I'm still here. How did she do it? Hard work and determination. Yeah. I remember after that day, I looked at my grandmother and I'm like, I think we need to take the keys from you. And they're like, no, we can't do that. What is she going to do? And I'm like, she's going to get someone else to drive her. Otherwise, she's going to be driving somebody into heaven.
Hey, that's big enough to fit the world's biggest CRT television. You could, you know, slide it on in there and have the world's weirdest drive-in movie night at CVS. But what happens instead is everyone goes home and they fix the wall, right? I mean, I haven't finished reading here, but that just seems logical.
Right.
Oh. Guys, I missed a word in the headline. It's crazy.
Take away their fucking keys. Take away their fucking keys, okay? I mean, case closed. Take away their fucking keys. Your grandma totaled a car. I think she was passed out beforehand, then died months later. I don't know if those two things are related, but let's just say they are.
So casually in the article, a man crashed through Wading River CVS twice Sunday night.
Wait. He crashed twice into it in the same day? Is that what I'm understanding here? Am I mistaken here?
Yeah, of course. How do you even crash into CVS twice? What's left to crash into? A different part of the building? Would you...
Like, oh, we kind of crashed into that. I better get away before people notice. Turns around, hits column of CVS.
Like, pull out and make a full U-turn?
Yeah, well, see, that was my thought process, see? Hey, we created a back entrance. Might as well make the front entrance a little bit clearer.
If you're this guy, that's exactly...
Wait, what? He then put the car into drive and jumped the curb while pulling away, making a U-turn and crashing into the front entrance of the store. Oh my God! Oh! At that point in time, if I ever do that kind of shit, I would literally turn the car off, throw the keys at whoever's near me, and say, here, just take my fucking car. I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna get an Uber from now on. Okay? Tell me that is not what your process would be there. Interestingly enough, you're more likely to survive a crash when unconscious or drunk because ragdoll humans take less injuries. Interesting. He was making the front end of the car back match the back. I don't know, officer. This is the epitome of that. Hey, I don't know what happened, officer. That pole that just jumped out in front of me. That wall just jumped right out in front of me. I want to die peacefully in my sleep like my grandpa. Not like the people screaming and yelling in his car. I would just tell them, go drunk, you're home. Usually those poles move, don't they? Yeah, I swear to God, that column, it just jumped right out in the fucking front of me. It was taunting me.
You do. I can't be too harsh on him, really. He certainly had no intention of double dipping.
I don't don't think anybody intends to crash into a building. Not once. But after twice, you kind of have to look at it and be like, this feels intentional. This feels like, you know, they had spite against the store. And then they just played it off as they're old. Except that one guy.
Just got confused while behind the wheel. When most Americans get confused behind the wheel, they just slam on the horn, something I appreciate even less.
Yeah, that's true.
It's 2.5 years later, on July 17th, 2015. Today, it happened to the CVS on Morris Avenue in Union, New Jersey. Although the interior suffered some damage, it doesn't appear that the wall was actually broken at all from the outside.
The wall stood this battle! The wall won this battle!
Compared to the last crash, it kind of feels like this CVS got lucky.
Yeah, you got lucky,
Hey,
punk.
It's me. Just wanted to take a second to sit here with you as the rain begins to gently drizzle on the windows of my car. What do you call that? The calm before the storm? April 30th, 2017. Car crashes into CVS on Morris Avenue. A silver Mercedes-Benz crashed through the wall of CVS on Morris Avenue Sunday.
Also, I want to prove my point here. I've always said this. People that drive expensive cars are the shittiest drivers. That Mercedes-Benz, look how far that's gotten in. That has basically gone deeper than a lot of people that have, you know, been on... You know I'm right. Everybody loves Raymond. Every car hates CVS. The only thing I get confused about and causes me to lay on the horn is when someone cuts me off. Well, wall gets fucked hard. Yep, that would definitely be something for the orange and black site, you know. Not to mention the tailgate is open. Like, what was the rush? You know, I didn't even put 2 and 2 together there. Like, they did this while the tailgate was open. Like, what's the thought process there? Was it like, oh, you know, I'm not an employee. I shouldn't be in this part of the store. Exits out tailgate. But no, the seats aren't folded down. Like, you would expect that to happen in a situation like that. Maybe not. It depends on how the seats get folded down. But my point still stands. Why is the tailgate open? And also, what's in that back seat right there? Is that a reflection, or is there, like, something else, like, sitting there? Tailgate was open for plus 11 horsepower. Yeah, it's the same thing as when you paint, you know, flames on the side of your car. Makes you 150 extra horsepower. Right there.
A year ago, another car drove through the same wall at CVS just a few feet away.
Wait, what? Sit.
A year ago, another car drove through the same wall at CVS just a few...
A year ago! The same wall! Was it the same car that had a vendetta, or was it the son of the car that said, you killed my father. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Mercedes loses value very quick. A 5-year-old Mercedes can lose value, at least 50% of its value. Maintaining the vehicle is a different story. Well, what's the depreciation when you run it through a wall? Do you like only lose like 20% of the value? Or does it like go into like part of the building sale? But like they redid the brick wall here. Holy shit, you can actually see the discoloration where he like wasn't kidding. You can actually see where they rebuilt the wall.
Away. Only a year ago? That's crazy, isn't it? No. November 8th, 2017.
Holy shit!
Into CVS on Morris Avenue again. Remember like a minute ago when I commented on the absurdity of crashing into a CVS twice? Guess what happened again? And this time, I don't even have an explanation.
Why? What? What? My brain just broke on that. It was basically something that, like, was it like the equivalent of, like, you know, they just got in the car, oop, hit the wall, back up over here, and we're gonna turn around, and boom, right back into the wall over there. Like, what did they do? Like, how does this happen? And it feels like, well, maybe the door took more impact with this one, which is why that hole feels a little bit bigger. But how does this happen? And notice the trash can is just like right there perfectly. Like it didn't even get touched. So they must have like squeezed in right between here and the wall and the trash can. So like maybe tapped the door a little bit and then like doubled back and basically was like, fuck you, building.
No confusion, no U-turn, nothing. It's only been 7 months. Is that crazy yet?
What?
No, it's not. April 21st, 2018. Another car smashes into CVS on Morris Avenue. For the 3rd time in the past year, a car has crashed into this building. Will this store never get a break? Will these intervals...
At this point, you gotta wonder what the insurance is like in this building, this specific building, because the insurance agent's probably like, hey, another car crash? Yep, which wall this time? Okay. Just one this time, right? I wonder what their premiums are like with that building. Note to self, never stand the wall of a CVS. Well, you know, my Jay and Silent Bob days are long over. Mr. President, 12th car has hit the CVS on Morris. Trash can was minding his business. This is the most underrated pun I've heard so far. Will the store get a break? They sell plenty of Kit Kats, but they will not get a break.
Get shorter and shorter until we arrive at the perpetual CVS crash? Well, no. For 6 years, no further incidents would occur. But it's been 7 years since 2018. January 23rd.
I was like, do we have a happy ending? Are there no more? Nope.
2025, again, car slams into Union Township CVS pharmacy. Officials have noted that this marks at least the 3rd time a vehicle is the 3rd, we're on number 5, easily.
3, 5, same thing. You know. Sounds like a farmer's insurance commercial. Yeah, they should definitely work with CVS on a farmer's commercial at this point.
No idea if there were more. For instance, I can't find any information about a crash in 2016, but the 2017 article claims that the previous one was a year ago, not 2 years ago. What's up with that? And
wait,
even
what?
Before 2015, who knows what did and didn't become news? How much suffering has this CVS had to endure? Why? What is going on? In desperation for answers, I turn to the only vestige of the internet that still has them. I'm talking about Reddit, of course. What, did you think I was about to pull out an academic journal or something? You know what.
Reddit is the academic journal of the internet. Pinkies out, motherfuckers.
You're watching. Someone crashed into the CVS on Forest Street again. The people in the comments.
What about the Chevy that had to go on a rollback? How much did that have to endure?
Are on the exact.
Can I have a question or reference in cybersecurity? I think I found a vuln at the major supermarket chain in the UK and looking for some advice. Do an ethical disclosure with them. See if there's a bug bounty program. But either way, do an ethical disclosure. Give yourself. Reach out to them in several different ways to see if you can at least let them know about it. And then if they do not, you know, get back to you after you've actually verified it and everything like that, give it about like 6 months to a year, then put it on your own blog and then disclose it. But try to work with the supermarket first, get ethical disclosure out there, and see if you can help them patch it and get notified of it.
Same page as us. Some people are wondering how this is physically possible, others are wondering why the building wasn't future-proofed, many are wondering why this happens so f***ing often. One person even called CVS a car magnet. That's eloquent, actually. Another asks a question that I still have: how much is this CVS's problem as opposed to everyone's problem? It's just so hard to quantify. You can certainly try to count up all the news stories about crashes into each franchise, but will you ever reach the end, or find all of them, or even just know that the news has covered a significant portion in the first place? It's impossible to know, which is why I was so surprised to find my next clue on Facebook.
That's been a while since I've used Facebook. Aisle 3, also your car's in aisle 3. Some folks don't drive to CVS. They insert themselves into the pharmacy. Got anything for back pain? Waits in line for the pharmacist. Lines forever. Crashes into the pharmacy wall. Hey! You got any Tylenol?
CJ here says, years ago, I used to work for the CVS internal support line. This is exactly what we need. This is the knowledge that... Jesus Christ, multiple times a day. Okay, we have...
Wait, what? Hold up. Years ago, I used to work for a CVS internal support line and did RMM calls as well as support on RX Connect. Cars hitting...
This is exactly what we need. This is the knowledge that...
Cars hitting stores was a multiple time a day occurrence. I personally took many calls on it. A lot of old people and people not paying attention mostly. Yep.
Jesus Christ, multiple times a day. Okay, we have to do a little better than this. I think we're at that point. There has got to be an actual resource on this topic. Look, I mean, this is the internet. This is the internet. There people have written about every obscure thing under the sun. So what do? Do I look in some obscure Tumblr page? Do I dig through the recesses of Tumblr Machine? I think I'm overcomplicating this. Let me just go to storefrontcrashes.com. Oh, it's real.
I don't know why I'm surprised, but I shouldn't be. Like, what the hell? Can you put the link in the to the video in chat? I want to show it to someone later. Yeah, hold on. I'll get that for you. But I don't know why I'm surprised. Storefrontcrashes.com is a legit site. Like, of course somebody made it.
Why I love making videos about the internet. It has everything you can imagine and so many things you can't. When it was created, storefrontcrashes.com was basically the only good resource on this topic, and even today there's only a few. In 2008, the creator of the website was struck by a car inside a 7-Eleven, which I'd...
Somebody wanted their slushie really bad. I'm telling you, man. That's slushie addiction. It kills people. May not kill you, but you'll be killing people that you're trying to get the slushie from.
Is a pretty good reason to look into this topic, certainly much better than mine. The site links to a more current site called storefrontsafety.org, which claims that over 100 of these incidents happen in the US every day.
What?
If we are to believe my thumbnail, that'd roughly mean that
Don't sleep on 7-Eleven taquitos. I will sleep on them because I've been watching Financial Audit and the taquito thing. Not to mention, I know too many people that have gotten food poisoning from gas station food.
This accounts for 1% of all those incidents, which isn't inconceivable.
Wait, what?
Finding these preventative resources really made me realize that maybe the best question
every day,
isn't
yes,
why
Hans.
People keep crashing into CVS, but rather how do we stop people from crashing into CVS?
Step 1, old people. Heavy retesting for their driving. Step 2, get off your damn phones! Seriously, the amount of people I see fucking around with their phone while they're driving. It's insane. I have my phone on a cradle where I can see it as I drive. I maybe like have YouTube podcasts going, but I'm not watching the YouTube video. I'm having the audio go on, and it happens to be there. And then it's in the background with my Google Maps or whatever going. Or maybe I have the music going. But I don't do this. Oh yeah, my cherry slushie is worth you. My diet consists of gas station food a lot of the time. Just check your sodium intake, buddy.
One answer is bollards, which is a fancy name for...
It's a fancy name for yellow dick-looking things in front of the building, because if you end up hitting that, you become a dick. It's basically Ronald McDonald's dick.
Poles that you put in front of a building. If you're familiar with a convenience store called Wawa, you've seen bollards. All of their locations have bollards around the perimeter to prevent this exact thing from happening. CVS, not so much. Even if you can boil down the CVS conundrum into something simple, such as lots of old people go to CVS and old people are bad drivers, then where are the poles, CVS? Where is the preventative measure? I guess the moral of the story is that we can't not fix an issue just because it's weird. Treating these incidents as actual problems and not as bizarre one-off occurrences could save lives. And also, please, if you ever find yourself at the CVS on Morris Avenue in Union, New Jersey, please check your gear shift before leaving.
The fact that he's got, like, a score list here, like, of where the wall's been hit. Jesus.
Those poor employees have seen too much.
Oh, that was good. That was good. Thank you, Abby, for that video. Oh, you got another video. Steak boiled in habanero peppers. This could be good or bad. I like habaneros. I like steak. But the combo of them, maybe. Have a good night, Dragonfrost.
Alright, we're back with some more discounted steak fun. And this—
What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this packaging here? Like, Kroger, you have some splaining to do. Like, I have never seen tenderloin, like, packaged like that.
time, we're up in the spice ante with habaneros. There was a time when habanero peppers were the hottest pepper. Now when you talk about habaneros, it's like talking about a fart in the wind. I'm not sure.
Habaneros, I mean, they're a good little, mild spice level for me these days, but yeah.
Best way to be going about doing this. Just kind of doing something. Ow!
The fuck?
I'm gonna be adding some vinegar to this. I don't know why I thought half a pound of peppers was gonna be enough, but clearly we needed like 2 pounds. Okay. Here we go. That's
What the fuck is this? At first I had my hopes up. Then I see like this weird packaged steak and then some dude that don't know how to frickin' grind up peppers with a proper blender, or not a blender, but you know, the food processor where you should be able to do that. And then he like waters it down with vinegar. You're killing the pepper. That cow died for nothing.
Whoop! There's a kick to the air.
Is he going to feed this to his enemy? This is the epitome of how white people think that good cooking looks. I just want to put this out there, because he didn't have any other seasonings in there. It's just pepper, vinegar, and steak. There's not even a little cumin. Another little, bit of za'atar. You know, maybe a little bit of rosemary. Thyme. Something. This is like the equivalent of white people taco night.
Spicy air! We've been rocking and rolling here for 10 minutes, so I think we're gonna season and sear it. Salt, pepper.
Salt and pepper are not seasonings. They are basic bitch things. Seasoning is more than salt and pepper.
My nose will not stop running.
What the fuck is this thing that's on the steak right there? What is that? That little, like, Lucky Charm looking ass motherfucker.
Accidentally touched every part of my face and it burns. That's
bacon. I am white, yet somehow I'm cooking with real spices and herbs. Bacon. Look, I don't cook bacon. That's not the food that my people have. That is Jew repellent. Okay? So I wouldn't know, but that don't look like bacon to me. It's wrapped in bacon. Are you fucking kidding me? Why would you do that? Why would you? The steak was already bad to begin with.
Nice and white and smoky. Let's get it out of there. I think I accidentally touched my eye. All right, we're gonna have to hurry this up. I'm in a great deal of pain. All right, well, it's...
You didn't even cook it right! Like, don't get me wrong, I like medium rare, but that ain't even evenly done. Like, what the fuck is that? That looks like, you know... That looks like that steak is popping pussy, okay? I'm just gonna say it. But I'm also gonna say if I see pussy looking like that, she probably need to go to the doctor.
Rare than raw, but still, I mean, a lot of people aren't gonna be happy with that.
It's the shittiest quality steak that they wrap in bacon. I enjoyed them from Aldi in college. I've never had bacon. I'm gonna come out and say it. Some of y'all might be going, oh, he's never had... No, I've never had it. Never had a pig product. Also never had shellfish. Jew repellent. Y'all do what you want. I've had friends that are like, hey, is it bad if I have a pork chop around you? And I'm like, motherfucker, eat whatever you want at the restaurant. Just don't have it touch my plate. The same way as I have vegan friends that I've eaten in front of them. And when they'll be like, hey, I'm a vegan, is that a problem? No, as long as you're not going to lecture me about the steak I'm about to order. Because the one time a friend of mine actually did that to me, and they're like, you know, you should really think about being vegan, it's healthier for you and all that. And I looked him dead in the eye and I said, you know, this steak, it used to be a vegan too. And one day we may run out of steak from cows. And when that happens, I'm not going to become a vegan. I'm just going to go move on to the next grass eater. Vegans. I smoked pork at my vegan friend's house once. Most pork is overrated. Is it? I don't know. I don't care to like ever try it. It's one of those things where I'm like, I am never going to touch pork in my entire life. I have no inclination whatsoever. I will say this, like if I go to Japan, I might consider trying shellfish there, but it has to be like, it's freshly caught, like creme de la creme. Like, I'm not getting this landlocked, you know, dollar shrimp bullshit that I see, like, people have. Like, if I'm gonna be breaking the, you know, the Jewish rules over there, I'm gonna be doing it for top, you know, quality shit, because then at that point, it's like, this shit was so amazing, if I get it anywhere else, it's just not gonna be worth it. This is the type of meat that makes the booty jiggle like pork is cheap and very little taste. It's the tofu of meats. I have never heard that. It really doesn't have a taste. Like, when you cook beef, at least, you know, you can, you know, cook it in cast iron with nothing else, and there's still, like, a nice beef flavor. You know what I'm talking about? So it's not like that with pork? Like, pork doesn't have its own flavor? Or is it like you have to, like, infuse it with the flavors that you want? The taste is so mild, cracked pepper gives it heat. Well, first of all, cracked pepper ain't giving anybody heat. That's a season. Not even really. It's basic bitch condiment. Pork fat has flavor. I mean, I keep bacon grease for eggs and shit. Again, I wouldn't know.
Point, I don't care. I gotta hurry up and finish this before I pass out. Here we go!
Oh, you weren't kidding. That is bacon.
I don't care. I gotta hurry up and finish this before...
Like, that is bacon. That is. Okay. I'm like, that, I can see a difference there. You got beef and you got bacon. Okay, I can see the difference there. I never had bacon. I've had turkey bacon. I have had beef fry, which is like the equivalent to beef bacon. But I've never had bacon. Like the pork Jew repellent version.
I pass out. Here we go! It's so spicy, it's inedible! Everything is burning! My eyes burn, my face burns, my tongue burns, my hands are burning! The cat's eyes are watering. I gotta run the fan and open up the windows. This was a biohazard mistake. No one else should attempt to do this.
If you think that's spicy, you should see the food that Gitz and I cook up. I'm Moroccan and he's Ethiopian. Like, I'm pouring habanero, like, I went to Taco Bell this afternoon. I got my hot beach cosmic habanero hot sauce from Pex Peppers, and I was layering that shit on, and I bit into it, and I'm like, it's got a nice little bit of heat on there. It's good. Huevo chili. Same thing. Nice little bit of heat going on there. I went through the Hot Ones challenge, which one of these days we're going to do that live on stream. And I'm going to prove to y'all I can do all 10 of them. And I'm going to suffer because after the 7th one, it tastes like ass. I can handle the heat. You might see me like do some jet intake shit with like... You might see me do that, but I can do it.
I have to give this steak here a 0 out of 5.
Bop, 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 bop.
The fuck? Alright, ATSC 3.0, DRM opponents speak. Okay, so we're back onto the ATSC discussion with the DRM, that whole thing. We are obviously against DRM and encryption on over-the-air TV signals. This is from Lawn TV. But yeah. Chief, obviously not all Jewish people keep kosher. I never said they do! I just said that it's Jew repellent. It is.
Hey everybody,
It's also funny to say.
We are back with another update on the...
It's funny to say, because whenever I go to, dinner and all that stuff, and like when we're at work, I can literally say Jew repellent, and like everybody looks at me, and like, can you say that? And I'm like, I can say that. You can't say that. What's kosher? It just means that the animal's treated in a certain way, and you can only have certain animals that fit the criteria, and they're also slaughtered in a certain way that's basically ethical and humane.
Of over-the-air television from the current standard to the new one called Next Gen TV or ATSC 3.0. One of the big issues with this new standard is that broadcasters want to encrypt the signals, which has been a total disaster for those of us who watch TV using an antenna. And in my last video, we talked about what the proponents of encryption have been talking about. And this week, we're going to look at the opponents to DRM. A number of organizations filed some opposition on the docket, and we're going to dive into what they said here in just a second. But first, we've got a sponsor this week, so let's have a look. Did you watch the big game last night? If so, you might have seen an ad showing off a new hypercar from a company that you may not be familiar with called Dreamy. Dreamy started as a home cleaning brand with a line of smart vacuum cleaners, but now offers an entire ecosystem ranging from robotic lawnmowers, hair care, air purifiers, robotic pool cleaners, and more. And their big ad was to show off their big ambitions to go beyond just doing household appliances. At CES this year, they rolled out that electric hypercar prototype called the Nebula Next One concept. Its quad electric motors deliver 1,876
That is
horsepower
a sexy car.
that can achieve 0 to 60 speeds in less than 1.
So you're telling me someone else made the Tesla Roadster, the new one, before Tesla made a new Roadster. This is the kind of car Tesla should have been making, not that garbage can looking Cybertruck bullshit.
0.8 seconds, rivaling some of the fastest cars from Tesla and Porsche. Dreamy's products earned over 50 awards at CES, and most of their products are available right now. And if you want to see what Dreamy has available today, take a look at the link in the video description where you can get up to 52% off of their products, but just not the hypercar yet. I want to thank Dreamy for their support of the channel. And speaking of the Super Bowl, I was not able to tune into it over the air because my local NBC affiliate has encrypted their channel, and I can't get their regular ATSC 1.0 channel all that reliably, so I ended up streaming it. So let's take a look and see what everyone had to say on this docket. I'm going to start actually with my own file.
Well. I agree with that. And I don't mean just on Meshtastic. I mean, you should be able to do that in period. It's kind of bullshit that we can't encrypt our comms without special licensing.
You can see it for yourself at lon.tv/lonresponse. The filing that I made pretty much mirrored the video that we did 2 weeks ago talking about all the reasons the industry has been supporting encryption and why those reasons I don't think hold up. And so I put it all into docket form and you can check it out there. One thing that I did in my response was attached a PowerPoint presentation that had some videos embedded in it because the FCC allows you to upload documents up to 100 megabytes in size. One of the formats they take is PowerPoint. So if you have a video that's under 100 megabytes in the PowerPoint presentation, that will let you get a video added to the docket, which is what I did here. And if you want to file a response document yourself, and I'll talk about that later in the video, that's one trick I would encourage you to do, especially
That's
if you want
clever.
to demonstrate
Never thought
how
to do that
encryption
with
is
the FCC
impacting
complaints.
your life. Now, let's take a look and see what some organizations had to say. One of the biggest filings.
Oh, look, we got the EFF there. You know I'm going to agree with the EFF. I don't even have to know what their opinion is to know I'm going to agree with it. And I'll just take this point out, like I always do, whenever the EFF is mentioned. They are one of the best nonprofits that I always support. I've been a gold member of theirs for years. Please go support the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They are one of the best organizations protecting all our digital rights. I am not endorsed by them or, sponsored by them or anything. I genuinely just like them and agree with them. They do amazing work.
Came in from Public Knowledge, who partnered with all the organizations that you can see on screen here, but Public Knowledge is the lead on this. We did interview the attorney from Public Knowledge here on the channel a few months ago, so you can check that out as well in the video description. But let's take a look and see what they had to say. Now, they did, of course, go into DRM in their filing here, and they praised the FCC, actually, for putting this on the docket and asking so many important questions about it. So the scrutiny
I'm happy the FCC is doing that, too.
And they also said that A3SA, which is the encryption authority that is imposing all of this encryption on the world right now, operates without any meaningful external oversight.
Agreed.
Its licensing terms are confidential. Its decision-making processes are opaque. It has no accountability to its consumers, innovators, or public interest stakeholders.
Yeah, and that's a problem for the
over-the-air
public
TV. As a
TV.
private gatekeeper on the public airwaves.
Yep.
Additionally, they talk about consumer confusion here because there are now two different logos that consumers have to look for. One is the Next Gen TV logo, which you will see across a number of different devices, and the other is the A3SA logo, which designates that the device can decrypt content. So just getting the Next Gen certification logo doesn't mean you can actually watch encrypted television. You have to be able to.
That is confusing as shit.
And there's no better example of this confusion than this display I saw at CES. So this is the Zapper box. This is one of the devices that can decrypt encrypted content. I think it does still require an internet connection.
Eventually, I want to make it to the
But
CES.
you'll notice that it only has the A3SA
Maybe
certification and not the Next Gen TV certification. And then you've got this box, of course, the HD Home Run, which is the awesome gateway device that I use in my house. And that one has the Next Gen TV certification.
I've been wanting to get an HD Home Run for a while, but this kind of bullshit with AS3A or A3SA and the Next Gen TV is like turning me off from it, that I'm just like, I'm more inclined to pirate shit than I am to actually do things the legal and ethical way. That's how effed this entire situation is. That's why piracy is becoming, is returning so much. Because it's an issue of you are inconveniencing the people. Piracy went down for years because Netflix and others were so accessible, and it was like, oh, you could go there, get all the content you need. Now there's too many choices. It costs too much money. You have fractured, different platforms with different things, and yeah.
Because it does have that, but it doesn't decrypt the content, so therefore it lacks the A3SA certification. So consumers need to look for both when they go out shopping. Of note, the ATSC, which actually maintains the new format, stated that there could be other encryption technologies also layered on top here. So
that's
we could have
bullshit.
A million different logos like VHS versus Beta again on steroids if this thing continues without any kind of oversight from the FCC. Incidentally, when we went out shopping a few months ago to Best Buy to see if we could find these logos
I have not been to a Best Buy in years.
We didn't see them anywhere, including on TV sets that support Next Gen TV, like these high-end Bravia sets. If you go and look at their display of logos here, you're not going to see a Next Gen TV logo. Or
oh, good God, he's right. You don't even see it anywhere.
An A3SA logo at all. The only place at retail that I saw a Next Gen TV logo was on an antenna at Target. So we're just not seeing these logos making their way out to consumers. And I think for those who are still tuning over-the-air television, they're going to be quite confused when one of these logos is not enough. And Public Knowledge makes another compelling argument in their filing here, which is that back in 2017, when the Next Gen TV transition docket began, The FCC order acknowledged that encryption may be allowed in this test, but emphasized that programming that is encrypted must not require special equipment supplied and programmed by the broadcaster to decode. Public Knowledge argues, and I agree, that the current A3SA regime may fail this test. Devices must be certified by a broadcaster-controlled entity, and certification requires compliance with terms dictated by that entity, which of course are completely opaque, and not even the FCC knows what the terms are, yet they're able to gatekeep into the public
so annoying and
airwaves.
confusing
of course,
the way they do
I was not
things.
able to tune into them the other night because my channel was encrypted. Commenters urged the commission to require that the primary video programming stream of any broadcast station remain freely receivable. And they're offering up here maybe a little bit of a compromise. I don't think encryption belongs on any channel, primary or otherwise, but perhaps they're hoping to get something out of this docket,
Encryption
which would be the
just
primary channel.
The whole point of over-the-air TV, where you can just use an antenna to connect to it, is that it should be freely accessible. Let's think about in terms of, you know, you have an emergency or something like that. You need to have multiple ways to connect, and we should not have encryption that basically just adds another layer on top of things to make it more complicated. I mean, it's one thing to go from analog TV to digital TV like we had a few years ago. That switch, okay, yeah, it was a little bit frustrating. You had to buy the little box, but FCC gave you a little coupon for it. No big deal. The encryption TV thing, we don't need to encrypt TV. The last incident that you can think of a mass hacking that they're giving this whole like reasoning for why we need to encrypt the signals is like the max headroom thing from the 1980s. And that's like the last example that we know of where TVs have been compromised because they didn't have an encrypted signal and they could be overpowered. Like, it's just such a weird edge case that I don't know why they're pushing this other than to try some weird, convoluted ways to protect their revenue streams, but not understanding this is what actually gets a lot of people to just want to pirate things even more. Is this an attempt to stop rogue Android boxes? Not even. This is like some weird way. I don't even understand the reasoning for them to do this other than you basically have the TV that can get a certificate to be able to access the TV, similar to what you have with like HTTPS sites with the lock icon, you know, where they have a TLS certificate. And then that organization could revoke the certificate if they just don't like what the TV network is doing. And then suddenly can't access it. Like, it's bullshit.
Not being encrypted, but we'll see how that comes about there. They also mentioned that the FCC has some limited authority when it comes to encryption on devices. What they point to here is a case called the American Library Association versus the FCC. What this case was about was the broadcast flag rule that broadcasters tried to impose during the last digital TV transition. What that meant was that if a broadcaster
really just
did
doing
not
whatever
want
they
you, the
want
consumer,
at
to
this
record
point.
one of
Yeah, I
their
agree.
broadcasts, they would put a flag on it, and your receiver, by FCC order, would not be able to record that programming. That lawsuit, however, reversed it because the FCC did not have the authority to determine what consumer devices in the home can or can't do. And so Public Knowledge here argues that the A3SA certification is essentially the new broadcast flag, and there are ways in which this DRM would allow a broadcaster to say what you could or couldn't record or how long you could retain that recording for. It's all part of the spec. So these are things that are possible here, and this really is a rehashing of the broadcast flag, but a much more sophisticated one. And we also heard on the docket from Weigel Broadcasting. Now, Weigel is a broadcaster. They have stations across the U.S. here. They reach 96% of U.S. households in 175 markets.
I think there's too much monopoly for different things.
And then they've got a bunch of sub-channels as well.
This feels worse than MS requiring TPM 2.0. Yeah, in many ways it is.
Have Weigel's stations within range of your antenna here in the United States. And they've been very vocal throughout this process in trying to get the FCC to see that not every broadcaster is on board here.
Yeah, I agree.
And they, as a smaller group, feel threatened by the fact that this oligopoly of major multi-billion-dollar corporations are trying to basically take control of broadcasting out of the FCC's hands and into their own. And Weigel presented on their most recent filing some disturbing comments that came from some of their competitors.
Yeah, like, look, I'm not the biggest advocate for government control and regulation, as you all know, but I think there is reasonable arguments for when government should be in charge of regulating and controlling things, and radio waves is one of those. I don't trust these organizations that are a coalition of different companies to do things that actually benefit the whole of America. I think the FCC, as imperfect as they may be, they have definitely made decisions I do not agree with. I'm a ham radio operator. That's a whole other diatribe. But I would say they at least are a net good. Whereas I cannot trust any of these companies because I feel like they're going to be more interested in their own interests to basically shut out people like HD Home Run. The reason why I want that device is that I can actually be able to have a whole home tuner where I could have that go over my Roku or my home devices here so I could watch regular TV on my computers over here. And I could even set up a DVR to connect with it. And that's one of the reasons why they don't want that HD Home Run to be certified to do A3SA is because you can skip the commercials. This is all a convoluted way for them to protect archaic revenue streams, and it doesn't make sense. Sinclair is still trying to own more than 39%. Yeah, that's a whole other effed up point. Because, like, they're buddying up to the Trump administration, and you now have, like, CBS that tried to censor Colbert the other night, and we heard about the whole, what was the other talk show creator they took off for a couple of nights, and then he came back. But you have them trying to censor these people because they're trying to placate to the administration so that they can actually be able to do all these deals for mergers and everything. And it's such bullshit. It's crony. And this has been happening through Democrat regulations, through Republican Democrat and Republican administrations. It is a corrupt system. Trust me, they just bought the station I work at. Oof. Can you play Siege on Linux? I don't know. I haven't played it.
One comment here was an executive at a major broadcaster talking about how they intend to make gambling available through ATSC 3.0, including Pearl TV, which is the organization that represents those large broadcasters.
What?
And they've got a direct quote here from a conference where that was heard. Another example they gave is about how some of these broadcasters don't see the responsibility they have to the public for being able to use this spectrum for free. Rather, they see it, in the words of one CEO, as oil in the ground, and that they want to monetize this because they see their granting of spectrum the largest value lever that they can pull in the next 10 years. And that is really not what it's supposed to be.
Focus on monetizing our excess spectrum. This is some greedy-ass bullshit. So they basically want to take control of the airwaves that we all have rights to. It's such bullshit. Yeah, it's always about the money. Why is everyone going crazy about Oracle? Because they are a massive company that then acquired TikTok and it's owned by Larry Ellison. I'm not the biggest fan of Oracle from a company standpoint. Apolitically to them, Oracle's not that great of a company. They're not. They just have a lot of data centers, but they're not that great of a company. They are a pain in the ass to deal with.
But
that's my
really,
professional opinion.
That is what it's about to them. It is greed and profit over serving the public interest. And that was pointed out quite a bit in a few different filings that I saw, both from organizations like Weigel, but also from individuals. They also talk about problems with DRM. Now, they are a little bit off track here where they say that DRM can serve the laudable purpose of safeguarding valuable content. We know that it does nothing to safeguard valuable content.
No, it does not.
It just inconveniences.
We've had this argument for like decades. Yeah.
But with that being said, Weigel does acknowledge that DRM, as it's currently implemented, is creating significant new problems throughout the broadcast ecosystem.
Hey,
the first problem,
at least a TV broadcast network understands that.
Thousands of consumers have filed on the FCC docket about how they can't watch TV any longer. And of course, this has led to significant adoption problems in trying to get these tuners out to the public. Weigel didn't offer too much.
Yeah, like I said before, I want to get an HD home run device, but I can't do A3SA, and that's an issue because I want to get over-the-air TV so I can move away from, you know, relying on cable TV as much. I technically have it through the Spectrum app for, you know, they bundle with my internet, but I don't like that either. I want a solution to be, excuse me, to be able to watch TV in an emergency situation where I need to have access to local news. Like, that's the main reason I want to do it. Now, they have a lot of other programming and stuff that I'd like to be able to use. Maybe I want to, you know, set up my own DVR that I can actually have it connect in and say, hey, there's a TV show on CBS that I want to record and watch, and I don't want to wait till, you know, it comes out on Hulu. Weigel's an amazing company. They have so many sub-channels and the content is good. Yeah, I've seen a lot of their stuff from when I'm at friends' houses that have over-the-air TV. I have steep discounts available for TV, yet I don't use it. Yeah. I don't see the point in having cable TV. It's gotten too expensive. I'd rather have over-the-air TV and maybe a couple streaming services.
The way of solutions here, they did suggest that if there is going to be DRM, that it should be part of the broadcast signal and not require any kind of internet connection for it to work.
I agree. That's one of the big issues is Lon was actually talking about this a while ago, where in order to get his TV tuner box to work with some encryption, he had to plug it into the internet, have it do an update in order for it to grab the certificate to decrypt the TV. That's not how it should be. It should be able, you just plug your box in, you put your damn rabbit ears on, and you tune the signal. The same goddamn way it's been done for 100 years or so. DTV versus analog TV discussion aside, but yeah, you get my point.
Examples of devices that should not require an internet
you have a pocket
connection
radio for emergency
do
broadcasting.
fail, like the
CBC Radio 1 exists in every little hamlet, even if it's rebroadcast. Yeah, I mean, I have my ham radio. Where is my ham radio? I had a brand new ham radio. I gotta remember where I put it. I bought a TID H9, and I have my H8 upstairs. Oh, I think it's on the table upstairs. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I have my ham radio for emergency systems. I have it tuned to the one of the NOAA channels whenever I need it, as well as to APRS/GNSS, so I can grab my signal in case there's an issue. I can actually tell someone, yeah, first you lost your flipper and now you lost your radio. Look, I would lose my head if it wasn't attached. But look, of all the things I've lost, I miss my mind the most.
EH box we covered 2 weeks ago, where that box was advertised.
The problem with the DRM for 3.0 is they use it and it's Google Widevine, so no iOS. Yeah, that has been a problem. I really think we need an open standard to be able to use all of this. There's open standards out that they could totally use.
And then it just stopped working.
You know where my TDH9 is? Believe it or not, my pocket. God damn it, Abby!
Until you plugged it in and got a firmware update. So what they're suggesting here is that if it's going to be offline DRM, it truly needs to be offline all the time without needing to have to plug the box back in. But of course, it would be a heck of a lot easier not to have DRM at all.
Right.
Now, another filing on the docket came from the Consumer Technology Association.
Pocket radio
this
is
is
in
the
my
organization
pocket. God damn it.
that sponsors the big CES show each year, but is also the trade organization for device manufacturers. And they are currently at war with the broadcasters because broadcasters want a mandate for the ATSC3 tuner to be placed into every single new television that comes out on the market. CTA opposes that. The odd thing about this is that that next-gen TV logo is a CTA trademark, believe it or not.
Wait, what?
So there's a bit of a schism with the allies that created this new technology in the first place. Now, most of the CTA's filing dealt with this mandate issue. They do acknowledge the DRM controversy, which I was surprised they acknowledged. And the reason is that CTA is in...
Actually, my radio's upstairs in my bedroom charging. I should charge my Meshtastic device in my back.
bit of a tight spot here because Widevine, which is a Google technology,
there we go.
The encryption technology that the broadcasters are using for ATSC 3.0. And the CTA, of course, needs to support its members here. At the same time, they're in opposition to the broadcasters who are pushing this technology. And then within the CTA, there are member companies that are in dispute. So, for example, in their filing here, the CTA acknowledges that many devices in the marketplace have navigated implementation of DRM.
Yep, there it is.
Reflects some companies encountering challenges, and the company they're referring to in that footnote there is Silicon Dust, the makers of the HD Home Run. And you'll recall a few months ago, Nick Kelsey, the CEO of that company, met with the FCC to describe how awful this A3SA process has been for him and his company. And so they're saying against this.
We want HD Home Run. We want HD Home Run.
Section of DRM and ATSC 3.0. Their standard position, of course, is that there shouldn't be any government intervention anywhere, but they are in a weird spot here, and it was interesting to see them acknowledge it the way they did on.
Look, I don't necessarily agree with government intervention in many cases, but I think we need it here.
There you go. That's interesting. And then the last thing here is from the NCTA. This is the group that represents cable and internet providers. So your Comcasts and your Spectrums and everybody are in that bucket there. And they, of course, are unhappy with a mandated transition because
I know, I want an HD Home Run, but the A3SA is a problem.
The ATSC 1.0 signals that they're currently receiving to ATSC 3. There's a lot that goes into that beyond just the decoding factor because ATSC 3 adds different types of interactive functionality that they would have to replicate, at least under the current law. They also would need to figure out how to get Dolby AC4 audio to work, a whole bunch of problems that they are encountering here. But one of the problems they acknowledge is that encryption adds additional complexity and cost to the mix, and they included that as one of the reasons why that the FCC should not be pushing for a mandatory transition to the new standard just yet. And again, another area where DRM is slowing things down considerably. So this is definitely not a slam dunk for the broadcasters here. There's been a lot of opposition content with some very good arguments made. And to be honest, when we looked at what the broadcasters were saying 2 weeks ago, their arguments were not all that compelling in my opinion. So really it's going to come down to whether or not the FCC is going to choose to do something about it or just let it all happen. And that, of course, remains to be seen. Now, there still is an opportunity to file, but you have to be very specific in how you file. So right now there is a reply deadline that expires on February 18th, about 9 days from now, so basically next week. Now, what's important here is that you can't just file a filing. You have to be responding to something else that's already been filed. So one thing you could do is look at the video I made 2 weeks ago or look at the filing that I told you about earlier and see some of the arguments the broadcasters are making and offer your own evidence as to why the arguments they're making are not true. So for example, if you had an ADTH box and you've got some imagery or video of that box not working the way it was supposed to, that would be a great thing to include in your filing. Again, responding to what's already on the docket, and I think the best thing we can do is put more examples on the record about how what they are saying
because it
not
uses the
true in
unethical,
regards to
stupid
how this
kernel-level anti-cheat
stuff
that
is
doesn't
working.
even stop cheating.
I do have a guide for filing, which you can find at lon.tv/time to file. That is in video form. In the video description, I will put my blog post down there so you can also see the steps that you need to take to file if you need it written out.
Card in a server and been using that for years. Hope it won't be affected. Well, the Opage tuners are great. Do not get me wrong, but I don't think it'll support ATSC 3.0. No, Fortnite, same problem. Kernel-level anti-cheat, unethical bullshit, rootkit spyware that shouldn't be in any video game.
Visually, both examples are there for you. But again, remember, you've got to post this as a response to what's already on the docket because they're not taking any new testimony at this time. That deadline ended. So that is it for now. Just thought I'd like to share with you some of the opposition I'm seeing on the docket here, and I would love to hear more from all of you about what your experiences are. But again, if you have something that you think the...
Okay, so ATSC 3.0 is still ongoing discussion. And then Vampire has over here, Open Manet. So this looks like another LoRa network over here, okay. Open Manet is an open source project for building Raspberry Pi-based Manet radios on Wi-Fi Halo. 950 megahertz using Morse micro chipsets. A MANET, mobile ad hoc network, is a self-forming wireless mesh where each node connects directly without centralized infrastructure. This technology is especially useful in the civilian space for search and rescue, disaster response, airsoft events, and any disconnected communication scenario. Designed to be budget-friendly with excellent long-range performance, the build is designed to integrate with ATAC over multicast, but works equally well with standard IP and internet links. Okay, so this seems like an extension to the Halo, which we have discussed quite a bit, and he's got an accompanying video over here that we can watch over here. How do you stream on Linux? Are you using that one Streamlabs key generator? No, I'm using OBS. And fuck Streamlabs. They keep rolling out more LoRa networks. Yeah, there's so many different technologies running on top of LoRa. Sounds great, especially because you don't need a license. Yeah?
Guessing since you're here, you too.
God, this is another 55-minute video.
I've been recommended a lot of videos related to this Wi-Fi Halo and OpenMANA. It would help documenting the.
Okay,
I'm guessing
so
since you're here,
we're gonna watch just a little bit about this.
A lot of videos related to this Wi-Fi Halo.
We can
and
skip the
OpenMANA.
Wi-Fi Halo.
I have spent the last month and a half going through the process of setting my own nodes up, and
Okay, so this is a
through that
setup.
process, I realized there is not much information.
So we can just go
out
through
there,
the intro.
as far as how to actually set it up. Now, I will be showing
When I
you
play
later
GTA
the
6 day or
person that
1 or
has
wait.
open
I'd
sourced
wait.
this project.
I got
and
enough
has
games.
Been leading this project has a lot of documentation online. He's done a great job at documenting the whole process and explaining a lot of the reasoning behind the things that he has done so far and tested.
But it's
I
GTA
just
6.
found
I don't
myself
care.
as a person that didn't really know much about it because I am not an expert in any of this. But
I think people need to understand that once you get to a certain age, it's just a fucking video game. I've got millions of others.
find myself
I still got at least like 40 other games I gotta finish.
having to figure out a lot of it and to read more than I expected to actually understand what it was that I was doing to be able to
Yeah, I know.
then
How did you get the
understand
key? I can't find
what
a
I was
way.
doing when it came to
You
setting
get
up the nodes.
a live agency, and they'll help you get the key. There's a few ones out there. You don't have to pay them anything.
To say everything that's on his website explains everything if you actually sit down and read it all, which I do want to go through some of those key points here later because through that process I learned a lot about how these actually work and how OpenMANA and the OpenWRT
they're calling it
software is set up
OpenMANA.
in these guys.
Okay.
But
OpenMANA.
I just wanted to take the time to
feel
stop
American.
what I was doing and actually walk through the steps that I'm walking through by myself with you guys now. Because I find it really helpful when I not only have a tutorial video, but a video that also shows the struggles that another person goes through and how they solve them. Because I can create a tutorial video on how to set these up for you guys, but the second that that software changes, that guide is not going to be.
You can also do it through Stream Elements. They let you do that, I understand. And you can also do Restream.io and then just have it go out that way for TikTok. I know somebody that uses that. But I use the
So
ATEM multicast.
instead of just
I'm
walking
on Twitch,
you
Kick,
guys
YouTube,
through
and TikTok at the same time right
the
now.
steps of setting up each node, I also wanted to walk you guys through how I, as a newbie,
What was my favorite?
came in
GTA 3.
and was able to figure out and set up everything on my own without a tutorial. So that
Which
way
one
in the
was Vice
future,
City?
if you ever need to set up your own nodes and this guide or this tutorial no longer works, you'll have your own skills to be able to figure out and set up everything yourself using the documentation that's available online. I then also want to go over some of the hardware that's out there. For example, this is a Raspberry Pi node that's set up and running. You've probably seen people online already talking about this hardware, as well as some of the smaller devices by Seed Studio, like a camera and the standalone.
Well, basically what this is no different than some of the other stuff that we've actually gone over. So it's just a matter of Wi-Fi Halo. For those of you that don't know what Halo is, Basically, it's Wi-Fi that runs over LoRa. LoRa is in the USA on the ISM band. LoRa stands for long range. So the ISM band in the USA is 902 to 928 megahertz. I forget what the range is for the EU, but it's around 868 megahertz. Most commonly, you may see it with these little mesh-tastic devices over here. This is one of mine over here. This is a SenseCap T1000E. It's a little ruggedized little card over here. This can get you about 2 miles of range, give or take, 2 to 3 miles of range. I have a better one upstairs with a long antenna on a LilyGo T Echo that I can get about 5 miles of range. I have a solar-powered mesh-tastic node outside with a, was it 13-inch antenna or something like that. That, I've been told from friends, have been able to see that from 20 miles away. And that's all without internet. So in the case of emergency, I can communicate with other people basically using text. Now, Halo is essentially using the LoRa band, but for Wi-Fi. So you can actually use that for internet or intranet. So you can have that in an emergency situation where you can set up people to have LoRa receivers to then ingest the Wi-Fi signal there and basically just use it like Wi-Fi, but over several miles, whereas typical Wi-Fi at 2.4 and 5 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz maybe will go a few hundred feet. This can go for miles. Now, admittedly, it's much slower, but you can get about 6 megabits per second, which is more than enough in an emergency situation. So you could theoretically take a Halo device, like a Raspberry Pi configured for it, connect it to a satellite internet, and have completely off-the-grid internet covering miles of range. Or you can just have those devices connect in, and then everybody can, then do ATAC, which is Android Tactical Awareness Kit, I think it stands for, and gather all the different telemetry and information. So you're doing search and rescue, things like that. You can then coordinate a little bit better. There's a lot you can do with this. So OpenMANA is basically another thing. It's really easy to do DDoS mesh task though. Yeah, but yes and no, because you still have to be within range of people. And not a lot of people are really using it, but yeah. If you're curious, Canada follows the FCC bans when it comes to LoRa Halo. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, I know that the North America as a whole tends to work together as a block. So usually Canada and USA follow similar rules. Now, I know my ham radio license, being general class, generally grants me reciprocity in most of the world. I just have to know what the / designation is for USA when using mine, like say if I'm in Europe or Canada. But my call sign still works. But yeah. What is my mouse? I've got a Ploopy trackball over here and a G903 mouse. How do I get North Korea Linux? You mean Star OS? You can look around and grab it. I got an image of it on my box. Similar rules, yes, but there are some still differences about certain open bans. Yeah, certain open bans. Yeah, that's why I always tell anybody before you mess with radio in another country, always check up the local rules and regulations, because when you travel, you are still applicable to them. So, for example, when I take my Mesh-tastic device over here, this would not technically be legal to operate in the EU. Because this is at the 915 megahertz band, I'd have to get a Mesh-tastic device designed for 868 megahertz. And because the frequency is different enough, you'd have to get a different antenna, you'd have to get a different radio potentially on there, or if it can do dual, you'd have to flash it. But be that as it may, in the USA we mostly use 915 megahertz. If you go to DEF CON, GERCON, a lot of cybersecurity conferences, you'll run into a lot of people that use Mesh-tastic. I know when I was at DEF CON, there was about 2,000 people that were using it. Would you rather live in North Korea or 1700s? What's the difference? But yeah. So OpenMANA looks like a different thing, but it looks like it's actually really easy to box this all together. They do have the GitHub over here, so I'm going to follow them. But yeah, so it's kind of nice that, that kind of stuff. Okay. Now let's see what this video is. The Raspberry Pi laptop. This might be the last video for the night. What FPS do I play? I don't know. Last thing I've done is like Borderlands or that. I'm not too heavy of a gamer.
This is a compute module, an entire computer with CPU, GPU, RAM, networking, and power all on.
Okay, YouTube, you got really derpy there for a second. So this is Jeff Geerling, obviously. There's a Raspberry Pi laptop.
This is a compute module, an entire computer with CPU, GPU, RAM, networking, and power all on this tiny board. Ever since these things came out, I've wondered why nobody made a laptop you could upgrade by just swapping out one of these. The framework mainboard exists, sure, but that's a little more involved. This just has two little sockets.
How am I live streaming a TikTok from Linux? I use OBS with ATEM multi-stream and I stream directly to it. I don't use Restream. I'm going to actually have my own Raspberry Pi eventually that'll handle the restreaming for me to offload the NVENC transcoding on this device. But that will be for it to push it out to Twitch, Kick, and YouTube simultaneously, so the desktop over here doesn't have to handle 4 streams, it'll handle 2 streams. Just TikTok, and then one 1080p multi-stream to those 3 other platforms. And then eventually I'll get into transcoding those separately, so then I can have 3 different settings, and then pipe maybe like a 20 megabit stream locally to that device, and then it can re-encode it to like 10 megabits for one, and 6 megabits for another, and 6 for another. We'll get down that road once I get high split from Spectrum.
And you could swap it out in like 5 seconds. Well, Argon 40 finally did it. They built the One Up, a laptop with a party trick. Remove this door on the bottom, pop out the Raspberry Pi CM5, and you can upgrade the whole computer just by replacing that one chip. I bought the shell version, which didn't come with a computer inside. I popped off the back cover, put in a Pi and an SSD, and now I have the first true Raspberry Pi laptop. And it's pretty good,
it's an
honestly.
interesting
But
concept.
it's launching at about the worst time in Raspberry Pi's history. Why? Well, this month, Raspberry Pi announced another AI RAM shortage-related price increase. The CM5 I put in here is one with 16 gigs of RAM, the best one that you can buy. When I bought it, it cost me $120. That's a lot, but it's not crazy. Today, though, it's $200. And
Yeah,
this laptop
this whole
shell cost
AI
me
hike, I'm
$300.
hating it.
Add on a 45-watt USB-C power supply and a small NVMe SSD, and we're already around $600 now all in.
Jesus!
If this thing's a killer laptop, maybe that's worth it. After all, MacBooks start at $1,000, and Chromebooks are, well, you can get a Chromebook for like half the price, but running Linux on those is annoying. Maybe this can win for a cheap Linux laptop? Well, maybe not when the competition has a faster Intel N150, costs $400 and ships tomorrow. Or for around the same price as my setup here, you could upgrade to a name brand Lenovo
Yeah, I can't make
with
a thin
nice
line. There's a reason why I bought my 5070 Ti when I did, why I bought my new firewall when I did, why I bought the 64 gigs of RAM that I wanted to throw into the logging server, which I still have to build. It's right over there, all the parts. I bought all the parts that I needed for the 3 AI boxes locally and all that, but yeah. High split is extremely sensitive to noise, I mean extremely. Well, that's fine, because I've got my house grounded to all hell and back. Seriously, techs have come out and measured my line and been like, I have one of the best signals they've seen. Because I've got 6 or 7 grounding rods all around the house, from the Cat 6A isolated bus bar for the shielding that I have in there into the rack that then grounds into the UPS and everything else and the dedicated circuit, all the way up to my ham radio license, my ham radio antennas up there, and then all the way to the surge arresters on the other side.
AMD processor. But that doesn't mean this laptop is useless. Like with other Pi gear, it could serve a niche. For the right price, someday, maybe this thing will make sense. Taking all that into account, let's dive in. As a great YouTuber once said, don't turn it on, tear it apart. So I did that, and after you take off the back cover, there's a pretty large and mostly empty board, at least in contrast to other laptops. That's because the actual computer part that's all dense is crammed onto the compute module. The little fan over here blows straight across it and exhausts out the back hinge. The rest of the board has power controls and pretty much just like I/O routing. For ports, on one side you have a Kensington lock, 2 USB-A ports with one being USB 3.0, then there's a micro SD card slot that only works if you have a light compute module, and finally there's a headphone jack. On the other side there's a USB-C power jack with an LED that lights up red while it's charging and green when it's charged. Next to that is an HDMI output, so you can either mirror or extend your Pi desktop. There's another USB 3.0 Type A port and then 2 Type C ports. Now, these Type C ports are a little weird. A GPIO breakout adapter comes with this thing and plugs in there.
Wait,
but
what?
The little pamphlet you get with the laptop says these both have PD power and data. The last port supposedly offers DisplayPort and OTG mode too, but honestly, testing these has been a little frustrating. Not only is there no official documentation outside of this pamphlet, I wasn't able to get OTG mode working connected to my Mac. And so when I wanted to flash my CM5 that has eMMC, I had to pop it out entirely and flash it separately using my Nebra flash stick. That was a little frustrating, but you could also install PiOS using an external USB drive too, or flash PiOS onto an NVMe SSD, or for a light CM5 you could even use an external micro SD card. There's honestly a lot of options for that, and I like it. But the documentation on this thing was not very helpful. I had to figure all this stuff out on my own. And I was gonna ask about it on the Argon 40 forums, but they have that thing locked down so you can't create a new post unless you have some level of karma already, which means the forums are pretty much all but dead for new users. There's an unofficial subreddit out there too, but I found it a bit odd that most of the support from Argon 40 so far has come through updates and comment replies on Kickstarter. That's not the best way to support a product.
That's a little bit
convoluted. At some point they at least have a wiki on their website with a better overview. Anyways, we're way off track now. Back to the hardware. I couldn't get my USB flash drive to work on either of the USB-C ports, but it worked on all the Type A ports. I also couldn't get my USB-C monitor to output anything over the USB-C port that supposedly does DisplayPort, but I could extend my monitor using the full-size HDMI port, so that was good. And even with all those USB-C issues, port selection isn't that bad on here. It has more ports on here than my MacBook Air. And it has a decent-sized battery coming in at 55.21 watt-hours. The battery has 4 screws holding it in, so
how long does the battery last with the Raspberry Pi?
I'll test battery life later, but surrounding the battery are 2 pretty big speakers. A lot of cheaper laptops skimp out on speakers and sound pretty bad. Now, these aren't MacBook level quality, but they're certainly as good as most mid-tier laptop speakers, and I could get over 80 decibels out of them with no distortion from about a foot away. They do lack bass, but the stereo image is decent. The 14-inch IPS LCD display is 1920 by 1200 at 60 Hz. The colors and image are great, though it's a little more dim at 250 nits. Just above the display is an HD webcam with a tiny privacy shutter. Nice touch. Honestly, the hardware on here is put together pretty well. It's not quite MacBook quality, but the aluminum body feels more solid than the Framework 13 that I tested a couple months ago. I spent a lot of time using it both at my desk here and while I was traveling, and it almost always was a perfect substitute for my 13-inch Air, at least as far as the size and weight and feel of it. The keyboard especially is actually really nice to type on. It's maybe even a little better than my Air, and I could get 100 words per minute all day. The trackpad is good, but not great. The left click area on the bottom left always gives a loud click sound.
It's not that bad of a device, but it's
actually
just
register as an actual click in the OS. The right click area is a tiny 1 by 1 centimeter spot on the bottom right. But tap to click works reliably, tracking is good, and a 2-finger tap to right click works well too.
I don't do clicking, I do tapping.
Push to click, this isn't the trackpad for you, but otherwise it's fine.
Yeah, I don't like the
only other thing on the top is the power button, and that lights up when it's on, and you can hold it down for 10 seconds to force a shutdown. It comes with this little 40-pin GPIO dongle, which has a little switch on it, and honestly, I have no clue what that's for. There's no instructions for it anywhere, and again, I tried asking on the forum, but I can't do that. Before we get to using this laptop, I did want to share a couple things about the setup process that were a little strange. First, there's a spot for a thermal pad on the heatsink cover for the CM5, and you should probably use it if you want to keep your Pi cool. The fan can only do so much. But Argon 40 didn't include a thermal pad, so I had to fish one out of my bag of extra
such a
thermal pads.
cheap move.
My 1mm pad worked fine, but it was just a little weird that it wasn't included. They did have this little baggie
They
with
should get a
8
life.
extra screws, so I took 4 of them out and screwed down the CM5 and kept it secure, but maybe they just forgot to put thermal pads in here. I'm not sure. Also, if you want Wi-Fi on here, make sure that when you buy a CM5, you buy one that has Wi-Fi on it. If you don't have that, you'll have to plug in an external Ethernet adapter. In general, the hardware on here is pretty nice, though. Once we boot it up and start running Pi OS, though, how's that experience? Well, let me get this right out of the way. Raspberry Pis and Raspberry Pi OS are not really built for laptops. Basic things like trackpad settings, battery configuration, and even sleep aren't supported. Other OS distros may fare a little better, but not having sleep on a laptop, that's really the biggest problem.
The issue isn't that it's not a Linux limitation. The issue is it's developers that just do fucking shitty jobs and think that kernel level anti-cheat is the way that you're going to prevent, cheating when they don't actually prevent it. It's a developer limitation, not a Linux limitation. And yes, GTA 5 did work on Linux. I played the entire story and even bit online before Rockstar, again, did a stupid kernel level anti-cheat thing. But every bit of my gaming is done on Linux. So, it's not an issue of why can't Linux, but it's more why are developers not supporting Linux?
Argon 40 has a Python script that you can run that displays battery life in an icon on the desktop, but that's mostly a hack to me. The community is working on a proper battery driver for Linux, but really, Argon 40 should have had that going day one. It also turns off the screen when you close the lid if you're running their Python script, but even when the screen's off, either by turning on screen blanking or with that lid closing, the Pi actually stays fully booted up and powered on. It's burning like 8 watts at idle with the screen on, and you can reduce that to about 3.3 watts with it off. That's not horrible for bringing it from one place to another, but if you're like me and you stash it in your bag for a few hours and you forgot to shut it down, well, the battery's not going to like that. Just based on rough math, with the battery's 55 watt-hour capacity, that means you could get around 17 hours of standby power. So good enough for a day's work maybe, but to see how long the battery lasts while you're using it, I played a 1080p copy of Big Buck Bunny in VLC in a loop, and I let it rip. I had the screen on full brightness and speakers at about 25%. I wasn't expecting much, and the same test on a modern MacBook would probably go for a lot longer, but coming in at 7 hours and 34 minutes was a decent result. That's right in line with their 6 to 8 hour battery life claim. So even without sleep, the CM5 isn't the worst idea in a laptop. It's honestly way better than the RISC-V chip in the DC Roma 2 that was burning 25 watts at idle. Raspberry Pis aren't built for laptops, but Argon 40 set it up as good as it gets with the current generation of Pi. But, and this is a huge but,
7 hours is definitely great.
Right, this laptop could be useful. Like, for me, I already had a spare CM5, so it's nice to use it for quick projects around the studio. Another use I have for it is a small class I teach. I've been using Chromebooks to program microcontrollers to teach electronics, but dealing with Chrome OS is not fun. It's much nicer to run Linux and something like Thani directly without playing inside Google's walled garden.
I don't play Call of Duty,
and this
so
does
I'm
that.
not the right person
The trouble
to ask.
is, a cheap...
Look, if you want to find out if games work on Linux or not, there's a site called ProtonDB. You could look up every game that you want to play, and you'll see what people say about, can they get it working? Did they have to do any tweaks?
Windows laptop gets that done too, and usually for a lot less. To put it through its paces in the real world, I also took a prototype model of this laptop that Argon 40 sent to me last year.
You can even plug in your entire Steam library, and
I used the laptop with my HackRF SDR to scan radio
of
frequencies. I was trying to decode Meshtastic messages using GNU Radio, and I was also monitoring airplane traffic using ADSB on the 1UP. It worked great for all that, though the CM5 is a little limited for some things compared to even like a used laptop. Like you could buy an old M1 MacBook Air for $400, and that thing would probably beat this in every aspect and still give you that quiet, cool, ARM-powered laptop experience.
Well, that's because they suck.
The 1UP is a good laptop. Not perfect, but serviceable. But because of where the world of computing is right now with RAM prices where they are, it's just not a good deal. Unless maybe you already have a CM5 burning a hole in your pocket. I think if we ever end up in a sane world again, that might change. Especially if there's ever a newer, faster
because I'd like to get that.
The 1UP is like a different take on the framework, but it achieves the same right to repair goal. The laptop doesn't have to go in the dumpster every few years if you want to upgrade it. But the value is just not there right now, so I can't really recommend the 1UP. If you want to keep up on all my other notes on it and see any other developments, check out the GitHub issue I linked in the description. Until next time, I'm Jeff Geerling.
Yep. I mean, that's an interesting device, but like you said, we're just in a place right now where memory is too expensive to justify getting a lot of things. I don't think I'll be buying new devices for a while because of it. It's just really effed up. It really is. Make the volume of media playing lower when you speak. It depends on the video. It does auto compression where it will duck the audio, and I think TikTok does it worse than the other platforms. Just rob from your local data center, maybe. But with that being said, it's getting to be the end of the night. So make sure, if you haven't already, to follow me on all of my socials and the Discord and Matrix servers. I have the links in the bio for all of you. You're more than welcome to join the Discord and join the Matrix. Follow me on Blue Sky. Follow me on Mastodon. Check out the YouTube where I primarily put videos out. And I'm also on Twitch and Kick. And I live stream to YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. So YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and TikTok. Yeah. There's 4 platforms. So, yeah. I will be back on stream for sure on Sunday evening, and then maybe I'll be back on tomorrow. Maybe. We still have a bunch of stuff to catch up on in the watch on stream queue of things, because we've only caught up to the 10th of February. But stick around for the raid if you are on Twitch. Otherwise, happy hacking, everybody. I love all of you, and I'll see you next time.